I have my values and morality, so I'm not just gonna cross any line. But I like to be involved with like orphanages. That's kind of like my calling. I want to be part of this world. I want to experience this kingdom.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Furlough TV. And today we got a very special guest who I met. Actually, very interesting experience, actually. Somebody came into the community, came in with a default avatar with a single letter saying that he's from Miami. And I was just like, you know what? Let me reach out to this guy, welcome him. And fast forward, he is here with me, Mr. Leo Perry in the house. What's up, my brother?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How funny is it? How far we've come in such a quick amount of time, huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, everything that day was very unique. I'm not really online, you know. I just Googled like the best community for digital marketing, I think. And Furlough had like amazing reviews. Again, I joined with like the default avatar that I have. You asked for a little bio, I put it, and you reached out to me, and we met like 24 hours later.
Yeah, within that weekend, and it was like super funny because your actual business partner, ironically, was part of that community a year before.
Right.
And me and him had some an interaction exchange in the voice channels, and then I ended up getting on a call with him. He's like, "Yeah, you remember me?" And I realized he had a different name, and it's just small world, and here we are, man. We've hit it off, and honestly, I don't even. Business side, whatever. You're my boy.
Right.
We hit it off good. And that's how I was like, we got to do this. I know that we have some really interesting conversations. Let's
Definitely.
get it out there. And I know somebody's going to get some value out of it. So let's start kind of from the beginning, get some context. If you can, tell a little bit about yourself to the Furlough community.
Sure, yeah. So, again, my name is Leo Perry. I've been an entrepreneur now for about 8 years. I went to college at Rutgers University in New Jersey, and I played football there, but also studied. I graduated, but I was never really an academic, even though I pursued academia. So right in college, I started my first venture. I wanted to create a social media app, and it kind of transitioned to a software development company.
Nice.
And from there, it transitioned into just different branches of opportunities and businesses because of my connections with like ex-football teammates and just different business people. So yeah, it kind of led me to South Florida, where I do technology, software, insurance, and yeah, I'm invested in a lot of different things, but I'm definitely blessed.
Yeah, your hands are in a lot of pots, which
Right.
I'm sure we're going to tackle a couple. And you're originally, you said, from New York, and
Yeah.
and you have, you've been all over though.
Yeah, I've traveled to, I don't know the exact number, like 31 countries now.
Nice. How do you think traveling has expanded your perception of a perspective about things?
It's made the world a smaller place, but in a good way. It makes me feel like I'm more part of the world versus part of one nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously, I've been into different places. You know, I am American, and I am patriotic, but it kind of makes me appreciate other communities more. It also makes me understand just different insights of history and the present, which allows me to make better decisions for my future. But definitely, it's a humbling experience.
Absolutely, team human over here. Huh?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, which is interesting because in some of the earlier conversations we have, I like to kind of like analyze people off of these modalities and forms of, I guess, consciousness that I know, and one of them is the levels of consciousness, which there's tiers to it, and
Right.
there's success. Is one of the higher ones that most people reach, and I started gauging yours, and I said, I think your success, or the next level from there is community, and then you actually shared something that you do where you actually give back. So I was like, okay, cool. I mean, you're a very successful entrepreneur, so I figured, okay, maybe he's on like the money tip, but then
Right.
they realized that there's much more to your story. So we'll cover all the stuff of business, of course, but I really want to hear how it is exactly that you give back to those around you.
Oh, yeah. So actually, in regards to travel, since we're on that topic, one of the things that I do is, so whenever I do travel, and I kind of made this decision about 2 years ago, is wherever I go. So the last place that I was in the Bahamas. But I mean, I went to Brazil before that, and I was in Bali. Is whenever I do travel, I like to dedicate one day to kind of give back to the community.
Nice.
I like to be involved with like orphanages. That's kind of like my calling. So whether it's just getting supplies for the orphanage, like food or different things that they may need. It's just giving back to the community. So I don't like to just be a tourist. I just want to it's kind of paying homage for allowing me in your space. When we do travel, especially when we have the means to kind of experience a community at the highest level, even the local people don't get that experience, because it's just so expensive because of tourism. So I kind of, internalized that, and I just felt like because, you're allowing me in your space and allowing me to travel and experience things that even y'all don't, I want to make sure I kind of give back. And that's kind of like my offering, that's, for thanking you for allowing me in your country, in your space. So that's something I just do. So whenever I travel, like the next time I'm going somewhere in the Midwest, just do something. I just do something.
For the orphans. It's just so Batman of you.
Right.
No, that's wild.
Right.
That's awesome. Seriously, I mean, not enough people give back, and I mean, you're just stacking positive karma.
Right.
And how do you think that is? I mean, in the sense that in the previous person that I actually spoke to, I was talking about, that grind set that these entrepreneurs are setting with the grind. I got to push, I got to go. And it's like, I hate that, the grind, because now I've gotten to a point in my career where it's not grind, but it's grace. And things have kind of been eloquently falling and unraveling before me. How do you feel you are in your career? Is it still a grind? Is it a hustle, or things are kind of flowing?
It's interesting. It's definitely not like how it was back in the day when, sleeping in the office couch and, eating ramen to kind of make ends meet. So it's not that, but it has changed or evolved into a different grind, just in like a different space. I think the grind now is just more about making good decisions. Because back in that time, the only people that my decision impacted were myself or very, very close proxy people. But when you're an entrepreneur that has employees or, you have customers, clients, your decisions impacts hundreds of thousands of people when you include your employees, your customers, and their families.
Yeah, families. Yeah.
So it's like now that's where the mental stress comes in, because every decision you make has that domino effect. Where before you can kind of be like reckless and be, risky, because the only person that you can harm is yourself. But now it's like you have to be a little bit more precise in your decision making. So I think that's where the grind has changed, more mental. Where before it was more like time, like physical time. Like I need to be places, I need to do things. Now I'm spend a lot of time in my head. It's like I got to really think out what decision to make. So the grind is harder, but more mental. It's kind of gone up.
It's mindset. You kind of at the end of your journey, you're like, oh my God, everything was mindset
right.
the entire way. And it's not necessarily about taking steps every day, but just even now, just taking these big leaps. We'll hold, assess, check out the surroundings, take a big leap.
Right.
And that's what it feels like. So with your team, I'm curious, how many people are you, your team size, how big of an organization are you operating with?
So in terms of like the primary software company and marketing company, it's very small. We're very efficient. But because I consult with different insurance agencies, I have about 7 that I work with, and they each have about 20 employees. So it's almost, around it's like 100 plus people that I work with. Again, they're not technically my employees, but
contractors, people in the ecosystem, and your decisions impact them.
Right.
It's top down. You might not be dealing with them on a day-to-day level, but it's all compartmentalized where people that you're dealing with are dealing with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just a handful.
And knowing where you are now versus, where you were before and how I got there, what's some tips or things that you would have given yourself that would actually accelerate that process and actually save you a lot of heartaches?
It's a balance of two things, where you have to kind of be, because one thing that I always gave created relationships with everybody in the organization, but what I've seen is like a lot of people take advantage of that, and it takes away from my own time and energy to make those big decisions that we talked about. So it's kind of like you have to say no more, but at the same time be compassionate. I know that in this crazy world that we live in, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you kind of be like a cutthroat guy, the a-hole. But it's not my nature, so I've always had to kind of combat those two things. But it's where I can say, like, gracefully say no, and I think that's what I've learned to do better. Where before I was saying, yeah, sure, let's do this, or let me help you with that, and I would just wear myself thin. And again, I have responsibility to not only myself, but my family, my employees, the clients, the customers. So I have to kind of make sure that I'm good so that I can make the right decision before I just help everybody. So I would say learning not only how to say no, but when to say no has been a big thing for me when you're dealing with so many people. Was the biggest step.
It was just, you say that, and I had this thought. I'm part of this think tank. It's filled with boomers. All these people are just big high ups in these, Fortune 500 companies. And
right.
One guy had the audacity to say that sometimes you need to do a public execution. And I was like, whoa, I'm ready to, I was, the young blood that's like, I run a community model that's turned into a business. I didn't turn a business into a community,
Right.
And so I came in like, there was never a and I mean, everyone was saying different things that kind of supported it. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to make some enemies,
right.
Just call them all out. And I was like, there's never a good time to do a public execution.
Yeah.
You do that, it's just, you cut one head, like 3 more spawn. And you're going to create enemies, and people are going to be like, wow, look what they did to him. What would you do to me? And I think that organizations are evolving in the way that you do it with empathy and compassion versus, fear-based and guilt-based obedience is not the way. And where kind of consciousness is expanding, not just in individuals, but in organizations that allow us to understand, okay, cool, we can operate with, morals and morality and compassion in the sense of just not necessarily that slavery mentality.
Exactly. Well, I think just on that point, I think what helps with that, where you don't have that type of dynamic, is the type of people you have around you, because you can have those conversations and in a way that. So to give an example, that fear mentality can be where, I ask you to do something or tell you to do something, and the reason is just because I told you so. Versus I like to explain things, So if I say, okay, guys, so we're going to be doing this moving forward instead of this is why, and that extra step, when you're dealing with competent people, it makes it easier to do. Versus sometimes when you're dealing with like people that aren't competent, sometimes you just got to tell them, and it doesn't even make sense for me to tell you why, just do it. So because I've surrounded myself with people that I trust their feedback and their competence and their ability to do the job better than me. Like, I've surrounded myself with a team that know things better than I do.
Of course.
So everything is a collaboration. So now I can be empathetic, compassionate, and not be an a-hole when we're having conversations, because I know that they actually know more than me. They might not have the tactics or to know how to implement it like me, but they know how to do it better than me. So because of that, it opens a discussion, and I don't come across as like superior, even to myself. But when you in a room where you are a superior, it automatically you become superior.
Yeah.
But when you surround yourself in a room where you're not, you kind of humble down. So I think that's what has helped me be more compassionate, empathetic, is the fact that I've surrounded myself with people that are very high level individuals.
Absolutely. It was, in that think tank, they also said trust but verify. And I'm like, if you're trusting but verifying, you don't really trust in the first place, right? And it was just a shift. They're like, what would you do then? I'm like, trust but QA. Like, I trust you got it done. Let me just quality assure and make sure and have that opportunity to be collaborative, because it's now, I even think even competitors are now reaching to a point where we can see collaboration where they're, competition is healthy.
Yeah.
Right? And in your case, these so-called competitors, now you're actually teaming up with these agencies in your field, which is in a complete model for you. So Where do you see, I guess, these trends, whether it's in businesses or individuals or organizations or society, what comes to mind when you see trends? Because obviously someone like yourself who's immersed in, so many businesses and fields, and obviously well educated.
Well, so the trends that I see, that's an interesting question. Do you have like a specific, something specific that I could kind of
Yeah, I
work
mean,
off?
well, it's interesting because you're not on social media,
Right.
right? And I'm finding that every person I know that stepped away from social media, and I could tell you thousands of trends on social media. I'm even curious, like, how do you even maintain your network without social media? Are you just texting these are the 30 people I want to stay in touch with? Hey, just checking up on you, like sending automatic flowers once a month.
Right.
Like, what's your deal? How do you tap in?
I think when I do have that time with people, it's very authentic, and it's deep connection, kind of like us.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily talk every day or even every week, but when we do connect, it's hours of just like
Non-stop.
I don't even know.
It's
just
let's get on a pod.
Right, let's get on the podcast.
There's a camera here.
Exactly. So I think it's just when I do connect with people, it's just so deep that even if time goes by, it's like it hasn't, versus like always keeping in touch with people constantly. So yes, it's more so the fact that when I do give somebody my time, it's going to be worth it, versus just having like a more superficial like relationship over the long course of time. It's just we might have a couple hours every month, but when we do have that time, you have my full attention. And I think that that's something that is lost is attention. There's so many distractions, there's so many outlets to take away your attention, and because I don't have necessarily social media, when you have me in your space, you have my undivided attention.
Is that what you accredit that undeniable presence that you carry with you to the fact that you are not having all these platforms fighting for your attention?
I would assume so, because I've never had it. It's hard for me to kind of it's not where I had all the social media and then I cut it off. But if I had to kind of observe like outside and kind of make a deduce what's going on, I would say so. Yeah, I would say I exactly what you said. I have that my attention is in this moment right here. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else. So yeah, I would say a lot of people's attention has been like solicited and taken advantage of, and so it's like they don't have that deep connection with people. It's kind of like just spurts everywhere else. So yeah, I would say so.
Absolutely. So going back to the trends questions, because I was talking, for example, when we first met. One of the funniest moments that I had, especially in Miami, when we went to order food, we were at a place that the volume was a little too loud, and we still had to yell at each other.
Yeah.
And the waitress comes out, he's like, "Oh, what do you guys want to drink?" And I'm like, "You got some tea?" And you're like, "Oh, yeah, I'll take a tea too." I'm like, "Hey, man, if you want to drink, And you're like, "No, I don't drink," which to me was big.
Right.
And the trend that I see is that this is becoming more common. Ever since I cut out alcohol, it turns out that I've been running into a lot more people that are cutting out alcohol. The dinner that we had the other night at Komodo,
right.
There were more people at the table that weren't drinking that were drinking, which was crazy. And I think a trend that we can see is the alcohol industry kind of declining. I see nightclubs taking a shift as well. And going back to what you were saying about how you work with your team with compassion and collaborative instead of being a ruler, a leader, or using fear.
Right.
Where do you see, whether it's people, management?
Yes. So I think that's a good point. I think mental health is prioritized in people versus before in the workspace, it was about the end goal was just about being a provider, for your family or for whatever agenda you had, putting in the hours for some type of result. And I think because right now it's very hard to navigate, where people's time is going. Because again, whether you're talking about the economy, where, I know some people right now that are, hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, and they can't get a job. So it's kind of like, why do I have to put all this time, energy, and money into something when it's not a guarantee? So I think because of that, and it's like we don't know what the future is going to look like, let me prioritize now. Let me prioritize my mind, my being. And I think that's shifted how people go about being in the workplace. And that obviously changes the economy. So I think just like whether it be alcohol or social media, people are saying no to like their mind, body, and soul like just deteriorating, and they kind of like being more connected with that, which is a beautiful thing. So I think that's where I see the trend is people are prioritizing their health, so they're not going to just do crazy amount of hours and overtime and this and that, because to what avail?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saving up enough money to get a house. I'm not paying off, the interest. Inflation is so high. So why am I going to put all this hours and all this time when, I can live in the moment. I can take advantage of this, the seconds that I got, right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you see companies, I'm guessing they're pretty already doing it, subsidizing these or keeping in-house and hiring these peak performance coaches? Like, I want you to focus on every one of my teams, because I know these high and like hedge funds and trading firms, like they have these types of people in there. But do you see this becoming more of a common position, I guess, for smaller, leaner teams where they're just like, let's get some in-house mental health experts to come in and ensure that our team is performing at a peak state? Because that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, that I would say so. Maybe not in the industries that I've seen, but what I have seen that kind of combats that is because of how small the world is, and especially accessible with offshore employees.
Yeah.
Now they kind of saying okay to like their workers and people they work for them to having a more holistic lifestyle, working less, but then they subsidize the work that they want with this using offshore people.
Yeah.
So a lot of businesses that I know, probably I would say 80% of businesses and 100% of all of the insurance companies that I consult use offshore VAs.
Oh, I mean, me too. They're not VAs though.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
Whatever they are, it's just
Some of the best talent I've ever worked with
Exactly.
is overseas.
So it's like, instead of you working, 50 hours a week, you work a very easy 40, but I have this other person that's twice as cheap as you that's going to work another 40.
Yeah, of course.
So that's kind of what I've seen, where they kind of going with the grain.
Mm-hmm.
But because the world is so accessible for talent,
Yeah.
it doesn't. That's what I've seen business owners do. Now, in terms of bringing in coaches and mental health, advisors or consultants, not as much. But I've seen them kind of go with the grain, because again, you're not going to change somebody's mind, but you can change your business, and that's how they've done it, by kind of offshoring a talent.
Yeah, I kind of want to go down this mental health path, because this is my mind's racing right now, and being an American, obviously we live a different life, and I went through mental health. That was I wouldn't change it for anything, because that put me through the trials and tribulations that made me the man I am today. Do you think this is predominantly an American thing, or do you feel that mental health is a global crisis, pandemic? Or is it, because let's be honest, with men specifically, nobody cares what a man thinks, how they feel, right? So we know that there is definitely in the United States a mental health crisis for men, but how far do you think this reaches?
So I think the impetus is America, but I think it's Western society as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think America is the trendsetter for a lot of societies. So for instance, like a lot of different countries, they look up to America. Yeah. I think that's changing, it's definitely shifting. But yes, that I think it's America's like the root, but it's definitely has spread globally, because again, whatever America does kind of narrates,
It's cyclical. It goes, and then Europe ends up doing it in America, and then Asia does America, and then America is just like, oh, let's just copy Asia, and it's just a perpetual cycle of everyone copying each other, especially with fashion.
Exactly.
You see it.
So I definitely think that it's just because this is a global economy.
Yeah.
And it's a global, now again, with globalization, everything is closer together, so it's a world problem.
Yeah,
I would say.
the globalization, like the access to everything is supposed to make you understand like how big the world feels. But going back to the original thing you stated, is like it actually feels so small. And in real time, I'm seeing what's happening obviously everywhere in the world, whether it's, if I'm in the front lines of Ukraine and Russia,
Right.
just by opening up my phone, and there's this interconnectedness where it's happening, between everybody.
Right. I get it's like a little like adage from back in the day was like, keeping up with the Joneses,
Yeah.
which is basically, somebody in your neighborhood or close proximity that's better than you. And it kind of brings an envy out of you, and you kind of feel like I'm lesser because I'm not like them.
Yeah.
But because of how small the world is, the Joneses can be in a different country. People in different countries can see exactly how other people are living, what other people are doing, what they have. So even if you are in a space that isn't as developed, you kind of are exposed to things that you weren't exposed to before. And it's kind of like a ignorance is bliss type of thing,
Yeah.
where back in the day you only knew what's happening in your proximity.
Of course.
And maybe a newspaper can tell you more about what's going on. But now we all are neighbors.
Yeah.
I know exactly what some guy in Taiwan or South Africa or Brazil is doing, and I could either learn from it, envy it, or be jealous of it. There's so many ways that person can now influence how I think, versus before you only influenced by your neighbor.
Yeah. Which is wild, because I know you don't use social, so I'm going to go down a little social rant, but I genuinely believe that TikTok has actually enhanced a lot of human consciousness, because, as you said, right, we were keeping up with our neighbors, and then it came to a while where you'd open up social media like Instagram, and you see everybody stunning, all these living lavishly, and you're just like, wow, comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel, right? And then you have TikTok that released this For You page, which truly became this algorithm where it didn't matter who you followed. This was a curated feed for you based off your interests. So instead of being interested and being upset watching this lavish lifestyle that you do not have, your feeds start getting curated based off of things that made you happy and giving you all that dopamine released. And through that, I felt like we kind of shifted a little bit away from that keeping the Joneses era.
Yeah.
And what era do you think that, us as human beings, that we're actually going towards?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, is the dopamine. Like, it's attention.
Yeah.
Like, so again, obviously you're gonna stay on something because you're happy. So I feel like it's just transition. Like your attention is everything.
Yeah.
And I think companies, businesses, the agenda right now is people's attention. Then that's that's the new oil.
But why? What is it? Because I have my own conspiracy too. If you want to put that hat on, why do they fight for your attention so much?
I mean, I would just say the marketing potential. They have the more attention they have of yours, the more likely that you can become a customer, or they can spend or sell your attention for marketing dollars, because these companies want you to consume. Yeah. So I would say it has to do with capitalism, more so than like probably I would say some bigger agendas, whether it be like nullifying people's consciousness.
Okay, we're going into my
I know.
I mean that, and of course, if you're focused on your phone and focused on the outside, you can't go inside.
Exactly.
And I think that was one of the things that really made us bond, was the fact that how connected that we are in the sense of knowing who we are within. And going back to that mental health, I'm curious, what do you find is your practice that has helped you to stay on game as 100%? Whether it's doing the shadow work, what do you consider that to be
in terms of
personal development?
Personal development. Right now, I would say it's connecting with my family, and again, like just those little things that I do with people in need or orphans, or now like my nieces and nephews. It's just, it feeds my soul.
Yeah.
But like, for instance, I've just had this change in what makes me happy. And sure, when I first came down to Miami, it was like going to the same restaurants and places that celebrities or people of influence went to. But now it's like, I want to take my mom to these places. I want to take people that I am where I am because of them, and have them experience it, and their reaction to experiences is better than my own reaction to the experiences. So that's more like feeds my soul. In terms of personal development, I would say it's actually having like conversations with people like yourself. You know, it's very hard to come across people that you can connect with on that level, and it's kind of like that iron sharpens iron type
Yeah.
of mentality. So I feel like personal development. You know, I've read books and I've watched and consumed content, but there's something different when you speaking to another human. So I feel like that's where that personal development has changed the most. Is I have conversations and I surround myself with like-minded people or people that can challenge me. But in terms of my soul, I would say it's just my family and friends or people in need and helping them and seeing a smile on their face. For personal development, it would be connecting with high level people.
Yeah.
So
But and let's not forget the weekly fast, I believe that you do. It's
yes,
not just food.
right.
It,
So I'll dive in. So like every Friday, I do a fast, and it's basically all types of temptation. So it includes food, music, video content, or like whether it be like video games or YouTube or anything like that, and any type of intimacy with a partner or significant other. Yeah, it's just kind of like allowing my senses to kind of take a break, and it's like I just wanted to dedicate a day to myself,
Wow.
because I dedicate every other day to the world. So, and myself being, the universe, the creator, your spirit. So yeah, I just wanted to dedicate one day. So I took away as many distractions as I could, and but it actually is it's my favorite day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
It, it
some religions call that Sabbath
right.
because, there's many that believe, myself included, that you're just a creator playing a character.
Right.
And this character, sometimes you need to honor it. And we spend so much giving and, and I tell people, I'm like, never trust a naked man who offers you clothes, So some people
Right.
just give, give, give. It's in their inherent nature. And it's like, you need to take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you're giving and you're giving, it's just like the airplane analogy. You got to put your mask on before you take
Right.
care of the neighbors. And obviously with your service and servicing your community and taking care of yourself, where does this lead you?
Well,
What is paint me a picture of your future?
so I have a very specific future. To put it in like short, in a nutshell, it's kind of being like humble but hungry. So I do know that I'm an ambitious person, but again, there's something about helping people that I've always been connected with. So this is like my life that I would like. So I want to have homes in different parts of the world, probably like one in each continent, and something that just came across my mind. So I was just watching this thing about like Indonesia, and you can have this beautiful home, and it's like pretty cheap compared to here, like $250,000. And I know a lot of people that have those homes. Even here we live in South Florida. There's a lot of those snowbirds
Yeah.
that have these winter homes, and then they go away. So it's like I wanted these homes, but it's like they just taking up space. So I wanted a different home in a different continent that have a different element. So for instance, one home would be connected more with water, so maybe by the ocean. One home will be connected with the jungle or mountains. Other one is more desert. The other one's more like snow, like skiing and stuff.
Seasonal home. I
Yeah,
the same way.
yeah, just seasonal homes. But I always wanted a farm on each one.
Nice.
Again, obviously, when you're talking about the terrain of snow and stuff, it's different. But they produce something, right? And this is like what I want. And it occurred to me when I was watching that thing about Indonesian real estate. When I'm not using it,
It's producing.
it's producing. So I wanted to be somewhere where it's a farm for like my community, but when I'm not using it, it can supply the existing community in that local area. But orphans could use it as their
Nice.
vacation home. So it's like if I have the best house in Indonesia, like the mansion in Indonesia for 250,000, when I'm not there for 6 months, instead of it just being there, it's like it'll be so awesome if the orphans could use that as a little vacation, a weekend home. So that's like,
And they can work the farm, you know?
they can, yeah, exactly. They can work the farm. They can eat the food
Yeah,
that
they
the
can
farm
eat, yeah.
produces will go to them. It's just I don't like things just wasting space and wasting time. So
There's so many resources out there that just sit idle.
right, exactly. So it's like I want to live in this world. Like that's my big thing is like I want to be part of this world. I want to experience this kingdom, because again I've been blessed to do it, but I also want to give back. So it's like I want to have these spaces, but also have it open to people in need. Because there's no like again not saying anything about other people. They can do whatever they want, but there's hundreds of homes right here on Star Island.
I think it's like 70% of homes in Florida
are vacant.
Yeah.
And like what does it hurt to have a bunch of kids just experience that every week?
Change it. Yeah, it's like you're what you disregard and just leave empty and vacant is somebody's best experience of their life.
Best experience. So I think that's what I like got a perfect formula for. It's like, okay, I can be hungry and I can want these things that I really shouldn't. Like I'm not a monk, I'm not a saint. I want the like amazing houses and like have like, amazing things, but it's something that just doesn't feel right about it. It was like, oh, if I do it this way, it kind of it's like balances that scale in my heart, where it's like it makes now it works, because again I can't change who I am. Like I like what I like, and I am ambitious in the way that I am, and so I want to work with it. It's like I know how I am. I'm gonna want the best of everything, but how do I include my soul, my heart, and love into it? So that's my goal. I do have other things, but like that's like a picture.
It's so. I mean, and honestly, that's why we get along. I mean, for one, yes, swim with the current. And for me, I've just always been forward thinking, and I feel like I've been ahead of the curve with creating this community and just like servicing them and giving to them. And even with COVID, I think with isolation, everyone is kind of now they want something more. They went straight back into clubs once they all opened, and now the clubs are falling apart. All the club owners I know said it was a huge resurgence after, and then it died out because people are like, I don't want to go back to that old life. They're looking and seeking that connection, those one-off experiences. And even with this technology that we're building, where we can create a treasury that we're all partnered in, where we can kind of just partner up and create communal resources, and everyone could own a fractional piece of these assets globally and actually share, because there's the times of being ruled, going back to our original statement, that it's behind us, and that evolution of humans where we saw the gig economy, but we're soon, I believe, to see a sharing economy, as you just stated. And imagine those orphans, like how many orphans there are in the world, which ones deserve to be in there, because not everyone can experience it. But imagine the orphans that are actually got voted amongst the other orphans that are like, no, this person he's been a great person, with us growing up, all that, he deserves this. And like, so based off how much you give, you can actually receive. And I don't think that dollars, I don't think that euros are the currency of the future. I think that your reputation and the value that you give are. So creating this type of content, and it's crazy because what you're saying, I've heard so many people, and I'm having discussions all the time because I love this. This is like the type of a conversation I'm having, and so many people are having it, but they're saying it so like everyone's eloquently phrasing it in a way that goes with their current, and but it's just seeing this is the trend, this is where it's going, and it's we're moving away from separation, and we're moving closer towards oneness, and race and gender is just they're shoving it down our throats to try and divide us, but we're really realizing now more than ever how unified and close that we are.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I do see that sharing economy being more prevalent, but again, it becomes harder when they trying to separate, because like how are you going to share when you
think they're out to get you?
Right, exactly. We're on two different sides, but yeah, I think that's exactly it. Is how do we share resources? Because you can go. I think there's either an African or Asian proverb where it's like you can go faster alone, but
together we go farther.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the mentality that we see.
Absolutely. No, it takes a village.
Yeah.
It's so funny you said the farm, because I'm like, that's I want a bunch of chickens and a couple goats called
Right.
Michael. That's my dream.
Because
All right.
Michael's are all the goats.
Yeah, one's gonna be Jackson, the other's gonna be
Right.
Tyson, the other's gonna be Jordan.
Right.
All right, and 6 chicks.
Right.
Little chickens. That's it.
That's it.
I'll live on my farm, and then with the eggs and the cashmere for my goat.
Yeah.
I'll barter all the fruits and stuff like that. I want
Perfect.
some avocados. I want some apple trees. It's always been a go. I mean, I'm moving up to North Florida at some point because it's crazy. It's just like my little mini garden. It's
Yeah.
just the sun is cooking it, and I'm like, it's so tough. I mean, farming is no joke.
different, Yeah.
But it's so wild now. Even I saw David Beckham. His retirement is now just him on the farm.
Oh, really? I
And
didn't
he's
even
just-
see that.
Yeah, he's a farmer now,
That's crazy.
which is so crazy because us men are so simple, huh?
Right. No, exactly.
It's like everyone wants to see how you're so complex. I wonder what he's thinking.
Right. It's like, yo, I just want to dig
Dig a hole.
dig a hole.
Place a pot.
and plant and grow
That's
something.
it. Just
That's
because
amazing.
I mean that's the feeling, the simple things, the little beauties in life, being able to just grab from a tree that you planted and just
Yeah.
buy the apple, which ironically is what got us in this mess in the
Right,
first
exactly.
place.
That's true.
Amazing. So what besides, I mean, any other big overarching goals, any things that stand out, anything that big that you're really looking forward to?
Not anything specific, but again, I know I'm always going to be pushing the envelope. I'm always in a good way, like not satisfied with what
Always hungry, never thirsty.
Right, exactly. So it's just whatever it is, whatever I want to get myself into, I want to take it to the highest level. So it's always going to be that. And again, I'm never going to get rid of it. And that's why I said, like, I just want to make giving back just part of that.
Of course.
So as I, grow and God willing, become more successful in my own way, I want to make sure that that's part of my agenda. So nothing specific. I would say, yeah, just like I do have some other business opportunities.
Ambitions too, right?
Yeah, that I'm looking forward to. But I think
Anything you could talk about?
it's kind of boring stuff. Usually things that make money are boring.
Yeah.
But I would say
It's the dirty jobs. Like no one wants to talk about being a plumber, but man, that pays the bills.
right, exactly. But I would say it's about systems now. For me, I think that's what allows me to be more ambitious and confident with going into to different ventures. Because instead of just looking like, okay, this is the venture, and okay, how many of X do we need? How many of Y do we need to equate to Z, or whatever those variables are? It's like, how do we create a system where I don't have to spend as much time, but I get the same amount of output? Because for me, everything's about efficiency. So it's like the least amount of input for the most amount of output. So that's what I'm like looking into, and whether that's software, especially now with AI, it makes those things more possible. So automation is and systems is what I'm really involved in. So
if you were to start a company in the next 5 years, what company you think it would be?
company.
And it's nothing in your portfolio right now. Something outside your portfolio.
All right.
And you know what? Let's just say it's a guaranteed success. So money's not the option. It's not why you're doing it.
Right. I would say money's not an option. I would say something in telecommunication.
Nice.
So I would say
Okay.
I think there's a big hole in especially third world countries when it comes to data and the talk about like cellular data. So when I travel to Brazil, Ecuador, Indonesia, parts of Asia, and all around Africa, like there's some people or a lot of people, they still buy data.
Mhm.
So like unlimited data is not it's not really a thing now. So I would say there's a big opportunity in telecommunications. So I would get into that, which is basically a cellular network that allows for people in those areas of the world that don't have access to those big plans to have access to
Which
it.
is interesting because, as you say that, the first company I think of is like Helium Network, which is
I've heard of it.
okay, so yeah, you're familiar. It's a decentralized
Mm-hmm.
telecommunications company where I can be rewarded part of the company by hosting these routers that feed
Exactly.
it, and it's so interesting. Where do you, I mean, I probably answered the question just now, but which problems do you think, I mean, because obviously we have, 30,000 entrepreneurs listening to this right now. Like, what problems do you think need to be solved? Where do you see the opportunities that, obviously, that you don't have, the time because you're busy with all the companies in your portfolio already, that are worth tackling?
I would say that there is let me see. That's a great question, because again, that's kind of like the industries you want to get into.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
the ones that there's a problem, or one that needs some disruption. So right now,
One I previously said was education reform.
that
That's
is true.
just, and if you just hyper focus, I know people are doing programs and courses, but get that, aggregate everyone's program and course and create a really good curriculum and use AI to blend the experience. Because how is it just, I don't know, education, especially higher education, we were talking about with the student loans, is so absurd. Why isn't there an AI company that basically caters to your interests? And people's interests are dynamic, so they change. So as based
Right.
off they change, keep gamifying this process, and now you can learn at your own pace. And
Right.
I think COVID actually switched the way that schooling, at least the perspective that, wow, okay, so homeschooling is a thing. Homeschooling is completely on the rise.
Right.
And that's probably an industry worth thinking about, especially if you get a bunch of so homemade content from people that are actually content creators that make these programs and create that curriculum.
That's true. That's actually genius. Like, yeah, that's where it starts. Again, it's the competency. It's like the ability to think, to be critical thinkers, and that starts with not only education, but how are you taught? What are you taught, and even the ability to know how to learn, which is something my mom told me. So my mom, she's an academic, a full-time professor, a dean at a university, and the first thing she taught me, which allowed me to be somewhat successful in school, is you need to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
And a lot of the education system right now is all about memorization.
Yeah.
It's like not really understanding concepts and understanding why things are the way they are and how to change it and be innovative. Because if you just memorize it, that's all you know. So yeah, I think education and is probably the biggest
Yeah.
the biggest
I'm
thing
going to
that
add to
need
that,
change.
learn to learn. Also, you want to learn to unlearn and relearn,
That's
which
true.
is a huge skill, because sometimes you go in with the approach thinking you know it. Someone young and fresh comes in, shows you, you're like, whoa, what did you do?
Right.
And you have to kind of,
Take a step
rewind
back.
and take a step back. Another one of these opportunities, I think, is because I saw it this past weekend. I was at my buddy Eric Brown. My friend actually showed me an Instagram of a ice plunge event with coffee, and he's like, I
Okay.
want to check this out. And I saw that my friend founded it. I was like, oh my God, let me DM him. I think this is the universe trying to tell us to reconnect. So
Right.
I reconnected with him, and I'm like, hey man, I want to come support. And I went to his event. He's had 12 events, all of them sell out. And I'm like, wow, people are craving these experiences. And it was crazy because I saw someone else copycat his event, and instead of coffee and chill, did pups and chill, and they sold out. Which it's like
Pups and chill.
pups and chills, like puppies and ice baths, like whatever.
Okay.
People are just, they don't
Yeah.
care what it is. They're just like one-off event, perfect.
Right.
Sign me up. And I'm seeing these type of experiences, curated experiences, are happening, and it's just, there's such a change
Right.
happening right now. COVID obviously did a lot, but I mean, industries are changing, evolving, and some industries are dying.
Mhm.
Which I'm curious. I'm throwing you out some hard questions
No,
right now.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm like, which industries would you bet on? AI, obviously.
Yeah, no, technology is one of them. Agriculture.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like the big five, which is agriculture, healthcare, telecommunications, transportations. Those are like the obvious ones. But in terms of like the niche ones, to be honest, it's kind of in line with what you're saying with education and what we talked about 20 minutes ago. Is just mental health.
Yeah.
Whether it's the food you eat, whether it's implementing, different types of psychiatric care.
Mm-hmm.
There's a buddy of mine that he's starting a business with AI. It's the VR goggles for kids, and it's a psychiatrist, but it's a teddy bear.
Oh, like Ted.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the kid
A
thinks that
little more
he's,
PG.
yeah. So it's like, there's even, kids as low as, 5 to 10 years have like mental health problems.
Yeah.
So it's like these kids can relate more with, a teddy bear versus,
An
say,
old boomer on
yeah,
a chair.
exactly. So I think, mental health, again, foods is a big thing as well, because that everything aligns with how you feel and how you think. So I think like a lot of people were saying no to the way that the foods are in especially in America. So I think agriculture and foods for the purposes of a better life, whether it be your mindset, your physical, or even your whole overall well-being is like the thing that I would say is
Yeah.
important.
I could tell I'm getting older because I was doing my finances, my personal finances, and I'm looking through my personal finances. I'm like, oh my God, everything is spent on health.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even realizing. I'm like, yeah, health as well. I'm like really just focusing on feeling good, because if I feel good, I play good. Right. And it's all about that peak performance. But so like, I kind of want to switch a little bit on the direction of the conversation,
Okay.
because you're pretty tapped in. You have a lot of these, I feel like, high level conversations. So if you can bring me back to a time where you spoke to someone maybe recently or a while ago, what was one moment that you've had, like what was a conversation that you had that you were just like, oh, this is great, and it was something that you had some solid takeaways?
Well, a person that I communicate with a lot is my business partner, who Greg.
Of course.
And we have these like long, deep conversations, and I think the last conversation that we had was just about the kind of rat race,
Yeah.
that people are in, and there's like this. So for instance, he travels a lot. He's more outside
Sorry,
of
he was
America.
in Europe when I spoke to him.
Yeah. He's right now. He's in Romania. So it's kind of like this interesting thing that's happened where there's like immigration, but then there's the opposite immigration that they put another term on, called being like an expat, or like a digital nomad. But it's the same thing. It's just the opposite. It's like immigration is where you go from like a lower
income to a society.
to a higher society, and then being an expat is going from higher to lower because your purchasing power is higher. So it's just interesting, that's what we're seeing. It's kind of like the higher you, the higher. I mean, even what I'm talking about is like I'm literally saying I want to go outside of America, as I climb the ladder of my own successes. But all of those people that I'm going to be, where all those people from those places that I'm going would want to come here. Yeah. So it's just we see that a lot of people want to get out of this rat race. This like it just feels like the Western world is just taking advantage, and it's very. Before it was more, I would say, covert, and now it's just more obvious.
Don't care.
Yeah, now it's like
they're just throwing it right
right
down
in your face. So it's just that whole conversation that's interesting about how we seeing that just people exchanging locations and moving outside of in this case America. But it's interesting as well, those other places aren't really progressing because it's usually people that see opportunity that leave those, I'm just going to call them like third world countries, because it's usually people that are innovators, are thinkers, are either doctors or scientists. So it's like those places are losing out on the people that can build that economy, and the people that are coming in are just tourists, are just people that like to be at the beach and but only pay for a $200,000 beach villa instead of a $4 million one that's in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. So it's kind of like we just see that people are they can go anywhere, and America is losing those high earners.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Which is crazy. You're saying this, and like my good friend Brandon Tominski, he's the only American entrepreneur I know that purposely goes to emergency markets and builds infrastructure, and he does not miss on his startups. And you're saying this stuff. I'm like, man, you're right. I'm like, well, I know the one exception, but how many people are doing that?
Right.
And people are kind of like moving out of these places that need help, but they all just want to be comfortable and live their great life. But there's so much opportunity in these markets, going back to telecommunications, these
Yeah,
emerging
I mean,
markets.
when I was younger, even like something I would want to do right now, I was talking to my dad. I remember this thing. I was probably like 17. I was like, to be an entrepreneur as a person from Western society is easy
Yeah.
because all you gotta go to do is
Copy,
copy
paste.
and paste. So it's like you basically like 5 years in the future, when you live here. So yeah, if you go into spaces with that mentality, you can build infrastructure. Again, I would just say if I were to do that, I would just want to do it with more morality.
Yeah.
Instead of just thinking about the dollar. The world, the way that the world has been built right now, is about okay, what makes us the most money? Like let's
Yeah.
build this infrastructure. Let's build this.
Go public, siphon out the liquidity, and
Right.
just like, it's like, come on,
where
guys.
where now it's like let's go to these places and actually build something for the people. For this area that's sustainable, and because again, it's a lot of people that or things that might seem like it's helping. It's kind of like the mall in a poverty-stricken place. You think, oh, this is the mall, and it's going to bring all these businesses, and then people are going to have work, but it's actually taken away from the community. So you don't want to be like a FIFA, and just say, oh, we're going to have this event, build these stadiums, and it's just they just taking money away and resources from things that could be put elsewhere. It's like let's actually build an infrastructure that's like everlasting. It's kind of like teaching somebody to fish.
Yeah, which is
Type
very.
analogy.
It's interesting you say that because, like, I hope Brandon doesn't mind me putting our conversation on blast. He was talking about going to these emerging markets, and it's very cash is. They're still cash is king.
Yeah.
And even when I'm in Mexico, it's so crazy that I want to send someone money, and they're like, oh, no cash. And I'm
Right.
like, what? I can't just send like you a bank account. They're like, nah,
Right.
they still don't have bank accounts.
Yeah,
Majority
so-
of these people, which don't. I'm not gonna get into the crypto conversation. We could do that if you want to.
Right.
But he starts talking about these basically just pure cash societies, and you have these bodegas and these little corner stores in a sense. And he's like, yeah, just imagine going in, injecting resources into them, being like, here's $15,000 for your bodega. I'll become a minority partner. I'll set you up with a credit card terminal,
Right.
right? You got one. Now go do that. Let's say you have $150,000, and you do that to 10 bodegas. And now you have a percentage of all of them. And now since you own all of them and they all have, credit card processing, now you have this kind of economies of scale where you've provided infrastructure for them. And now that you have multiples, it is evaluated at multiple. And I was like, wow, that is such adding that morality to the mix where he came in as an entrepreneur.
Right.
He provided increase in all of their lives, helped them to increase more revenue by giving them resources and infrastructure that they didn't have, but also being able to yield on his side. But I felt like overall it was generally a net positive to
for everybody.
society.
If everybody wins, it's
That's the formula.
That's the formula.
And in Miami, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna put you on blast. I'll give you the chance. Like you have the rules of the people that you work with,
Right.
And one of my favorite what you said, but the thing I see when I'm working with people is that you can tell by their aura, their energy, that is this a deal where in order for you to win, someone needs to lose, or
Right.
can we structure a deal where everyone walks away winning?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to, I feel like the theme here is like harmony, where we're not being ruled, and there seems to be like a positive sum game where everyone walks away. And as you conduct business, I mean, it seems like that's the type of collaborations that you set forth, and hopefully a standard that's moving forth, right?
Right. No, 100%. I mean, I was just having a conversation with one of the business owners now that so he was my first employee ever in health insurance. Then he was my manager, and now he's a business owner. And it's kind of like, so when I used to talk, do briefs to like these offices, I used to tell them like, if you are not in my position, or at least have the chance to be in my position, in 5 years, I did a bad job.
Yeah.
You need to, if you're around me and we working towards a certain goal, you need to progress as well, if that's what you want to do. Some people like to be where they are, but it's about giving that opportunity. But 100%, it's all about people having opportunity. And I feel like in this world, it's all about, it's like player versus player.
PvP, I know.
Yeah. So it's
But
like
not.
it's
Like,
just I need to get better or enhance, but you need to either stay the same or even go down. Versus no, we can all come up. So that's how I like to
rising
conduct business.
tide.
Yeah, so I like to conduct business, and usually people when they work with me, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely are people in the same place. And again, when I say same place, if at the very least they have a better apartment or a better car than they
More
had,
money,
more
more education.
yes,
some
so it's not
lessons,
necessarily where they have to, now be from an employee to,
director.
yeah,
Or
director or
something.
something. But their life they've gotten what they wanted more out of life.
Yeah, the quality of life has improved.
Yeah, so that's paramount.
One of my favorite quotes as a business owner is like, "What if we invest in our employees and they leave? What if we don't and they stay?"
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta invest in people, which I
Right.
think inherently in life, it's all about the people.
Yeah.
And it's like in this PvP game, you're literally going against people. What is this illusion that we've been painting?
Mm-hmm.
And truly, if you serve and you make that your whole entire ethos, that you'll find that your quality of life improves, and your surroundings improves, and most importantly, that life and and the people that are around you improve, which comes back to you, that positive karma.
Oh yeah, 100, and then kind of like to tie it into business, something I used to tell, like it's kind of like a joke, but it's like serious, is if I create millionaires, I have more millionaires at my disposal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if I've helped these people that I've worked with at this capacity, I can leverage them. They like my house that I can take a loan out on from the bank. It's like because now they're valuable people, I can leverage their value, whether it's their time, their money, or the resources that now they have. It's interchangeable. It's like we are family now. So
That's the real currency.
yeah, it's your network is
Yeah.
your net worth.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. So yeah, I'm richer than I am on paper because of it.
Well, I like to say I'm like some of the poorest people I know. All they have is money.
Right.
So,
I think was that Bob Marley or who was that?
is that?
I think
Did I just quote Bob Marley as a white dude with dreads? Oh my god, dude! I did not.
somebody. It was somebody. But I've heard that before. But yes, it's
Whoever
very
it is,
very
wise
apt.
man.
Yeah, very wise. So yeah, no, that's true. That is true.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm very, very my value. It's kind of so to give kind of even an example. It's kind of like what I also do when we were talking about systems.
Mhm.
So, if a person puts in 40 hours,
Yeah.
but let's just say I have a system where I have 10 people putting in 40 hours, I'm technically worth 400 hours.
Of course.
So it's the same thing when it comes to these people that I've helped. They now have 400. So even though they one person, they are in a higher place. So now they have more hours, more time, more leverage, more resources, and I can tap into that.
Yeah.
And it just makes the game much easier when
Yeah.
you have that.
Yeah, it's all a game.
Yeah,
So,
it's all
someone
a
was
game.
telling me, if you're 100%,
Mhm.
right? Don't try to replace yourself with someone that's 100%. If anything, try and replace yourself with someone that's 70%, and then get someone else that's 70%, and now they're
Yeah, 140.
140. You
Yeah.
know, and at that point,
Oh yeah, that was the biggest thing as well. With again, I've have a lot of business ventures, and that was the thing. I'm not the type of person that feels like I've never had a baby. For me, if it makes dollars, it makes sense.
yeah,
Again, obviously, I have my values and morality, so I'm not just gonna cross any line. But if the main thing is, does this make money, and can I do it in a way that I don't have to spend a lot of time?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, it's like they spend all this time, and they're like, well, if I step away from it, it kind of drops down. But what you said is like, okay, well, what's better? It's kind of like an equity. It's like something I always talk to people about going into business. I don't really care about equity. So it's like I can either have 50% of a business that makes $1 million, or I can have 20% of a business that makes $10 million. The 20% is more valuable.
yeah. Bezos owns 14% of Amazon.
Right, exactly.
Take
So
my money.
so it's the same thing with your time. It's like, sure, your business is not running at 100%. potential, but now you have 4 different things running at 80%.
Yeah.
So your equity is larger, and I don't think a lot of people understand that, and they don't understand how you can compound your equity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to my buddy GC, and we're talking about the grinding, and he's just like, yeah, I was grinding. I would go for 3 days straight, no sleep, because I just loved it.
Right.
And he's like, but then when I let go of the gas and I took a nap, I woke up. No, it wasn't even that. He said when I gave the space, he's like, I got emails from the White House. I got emails from the local government saying like, hey, we want to invest in this, that, this. And it's like, how is it when you surrender and let go and actually let go of the gas that things kind of start falling to your place when all of us are just trying to just will it to existence, And
Right.
I do think that you need to let life give you those gifts of serendipity and synchronicities to, get the blessings that life gives you by stacking that positive karma, right?
Right. No, so I'm going to say an analogy that's coming to my mind. So I just got into golf, and it sounds exactly like golf. The less I try to hit the ball as hard as I can, the further it goes. Like, I don't know if you've played golf, but any golfer would tell you that's very, very true. So with golf, like when you stiff and you just like, I'm just going to hit it as hard as I can, you miss it completely. But when you relax and you just let the club do the work, it's a perfect shot.
I played baseball growing up. So you're saying that, I'm like, man, actually you're right. Because every time I squeeze, I'm like, oh yeah, and then it's just, you got to be loose.
It's got to be loose. So I think it's similar to life, where, when you in a more relaxed mindset or a state of mind, and you kind of let everything kind of work together and kind of mesh like a melting pot.
Yeah.
Things start working out.
Yeah, I mean, if to bring a little bit of like neuroscience into it, when you're in a relaxed state, right, brain waves in theta versus being in high beta, and out of that survival state, you're in that creative state. Even your body's in homeostasis, like you're just
flowing.
You're flowing, and then your field is wide open, and you're just living in that abundant state, and then you'll receive that energy.
Oh yeah, that abundance mindset is everything.
It's all mindset.
Right.
It's all mindset. If you put yourself, I mean, I had this conversation today. Someone told me that their thoughts don't have, like, it doesn't matter what they say. They told me, oh, I'm going to be sick after this, and these are my last good years. I'm like, what are you saying? If you say it, you believe it, because he who says he can and he who says he can't, they're both absolutely right. And it's like, your words have power, and especially when how you treat people, that's one thing. Treat people kind, treat people how you want to be treated, but gotta watch how you treat yourself and how you talk to yourself. And so many people are just wound up on coffee and just doom scrolling, and they feel like that voice they don't have control of, and it's just that negative self-talk and that scarcity mindset. That's that voice telling you that you don't have enough or that you aren't enough. And it's unfortunate that the majority of people are actually that voice in their head are telling them that I'm not good enough, which for some people, like myself, it acts like a chip on your shoulder.
Right.
Where I'm like, all right, now I gotta over deliver because I gotta get good enough.
Right.
But so for some people, it lets them, consume them and doom them, right?
Yeah, it takes over. It kind of like they stuck in it with like a deer in the headlights. They just numb, or not numb, but paralyzed.
Frozen, yeah. And what to do next? And it's so, I mean, this mental health thing keeps coming, reoccurring, and I've seen it, and it's so tough, like watching people in it, especially the people that are in it and they don't even know that they're in it. Right, and how they behave. And it's like, I have people that are angry. Oh my God, my favorite thing. I had the other day somebody, like in traffic, park their car, throw it in reverse. And I look and I'm like, oh, hell no. You're in front of me and you're putting your car in reverse. I get out the car and I literally walk up to the window and I'm like, what's wrong, man?
Right.
What's wrong? Why you got to do this? Oh, because I cut you off. I'm like, how else? There's dead traffic. I'm going in. Like, what's wrong, man? Like, another person I would never forget, like, I reversed out, and their car was, they were about to hit me. I'm honking the horn.
And they still coming.
Because they're going to hit me. I'm, like, honking the horn to get their attention. The guy flanks me. I cut him off. I get out the car. I'm like, why are you upset? No one got hurt. Right. And the guy looked at me. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's just like, oh, he tried to reach you out to give you a hug. I'm like, get over here, man. It's just like, hurt people, man.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's just like the world is so like just a rough place. They just have to be a rough person to kind of navigate it when it doesn't have to be that way.
So wild. What, like one random act of kindness. And I'm not talking about like going out and feeding
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
I'm just
but
talking about
yeah, just what you just said.
someone that tries to spark conflict, dissolve that conflict with love. And it's so funny. I don't know. I got on a Twitter Spaces, and I got on a Twitter Space with a bunch of neo-Nazis. I'm not even kidding. Like these people that are just like all praise, and they're just going in and talking about the war and talking about and I'm just like, let me get on, and I'm like, guys, you understand that you can't win the last war with violence. Right. And there's this thing called Hitler consciousness, which is the consciousness of Hitler existed before. Like the thought of him didn't come out of nowhere. Right. It was hate. And then now that he's gone, Hitler consciousness is still well alive. That people are trying to persecute a group of people, but it's like that is you're literally whatever you want to persecute them for, that those reasons, like you're doing that. Right. You're claiming you're superior and you're bringing violence into the picture. And like the last war is won with love. And we need to diffuse this conflict, get away from the PvP, that separation. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is truly love and giving. Right. And too many people are just fighting violence for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had this conversation. I don't know if it's 100% their fault. It's just the circumstances. But it is something that needs to change. It's just that mindset.
No.
Yeah.
How do we change it, man? Let's do this. How are we doing this?
I think it's exactly what you said, like education, but I'm not talking about just, the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. It's more so values. I feel like the value of life and, the value of life in different ways, not only in terms of another human, but just the nature and consciousness and the value of like, who we are, who we were, and who we're going to be, and how your actions, determine the future, the next generation. So I think there needs to be an education on like, who we are. I think a lot of people don't know who they are.
Clueless.
They're clueless. So I feel like when you know who you are, it allows you to be a more godly person because you find out that you have that essence in you, so you start acting that way. So I feel like that could lead it. It's more of a, I won't say spiritual reform, but it's something where it's education in whether it's understanding or learning more about the value of your life and the value of life. Yeah. And in its many forms, because that makes you navigate the world in a space where like everything is connected with each other. I'm connected with that plant is connected with that cow is connected with that. It's just everything.
It's connected to the water.
It's connected to the water. It's everything is connected, and when you see that
energy,
when you hurt those things, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So then we start to take care of each other and start being in that more like loving mindset. Mm-hmm. Or loving space, because we know that when you love somebody else, you're loving yourself.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where the disconnect is. We all think that we one vessel amongst each other, but we all do just one organism.
Individual cells of a larger consciousness, as they say. Which is, I had this conversation the other day. It was stating that I remember going to my first conference and like the personal development, which led me down that personal development rabbit hole. I remember walking out of that conference and being like, holy shit. Like, not that I learned what I learned. I was just like, I know myself more now. And this information just put me down that rabbit hole of personal development. And just so many people are going back to the doom scrolling. They're watching sports, watching what's on Netflix and Amazon Prime. And it's just not actually investing in themselves. And I'm not talking about getting a program on how to make, dollars or drop shipping, all that stuff. I'm talking about reading something that is actually going to let you have some self-discovery. Because when you truly know who you are, you'll find that you are very, very connected with all of those around you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I would say that's the route, is getting to know who you are. More education on who you are as a person, as an individual, as a soul.
So who are you as a person?
I'll say that the most powerful statement I can say to answer that is I'm my mother's son.
Oh man, you got me with that one. Oh man, I'm like, I'm a child of God, but
right.
you got me. You're
That's
like, you. That is.
in my mind. That's very similar. I'm a child of God, but I'm my mother's son.
Yeah.
So,
man, Leo, I know you're not on social, but if someone here was really, really gravitated to you and just wanted to thank you, reach out to you, anything, how would they possibly find you?
I mean, Furlough. I mean, that's the place.
That's a good plug.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
That's the nucleus.
Love it, guys. Feel free to ping him. His name's P. Just P. P with a default Discord. I make everybody change their profiles. You can keep yours, brother. You're good with me.
It. Thank you.
Beautiful stuff, man. No, this is really fun.
Oh, and this is awesome.
Yeah.
Are we already done?
After you said that mom comment, I was like,
that's a good sign.
That was so good. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful that you asked me to be on this, and hopefully, I've influenced somebody or planted some seed, and because I know I've gained a lot.
Yeah, me too. You just got me. I'm like, at these moments, I felt like I was in trance this entire time. It's going in and just, it's vibing really.
Yeah. And it's kind of like one of those things we talked about, not to kind of go backwards, but that self-development, just hearing your own self speak sometimes about your own thoughts, it's like so powerful. And again, because I don't really have a lot of people that I can have these discussions with, it's one of those things that I have the biggest growth spurts. So this was definitely, I grew an inch being here.
You're already a giant, brother.
I really appreciate everything.
We'll definitely have a round two.
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful, guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Join the community at furlough.com, discord.gg/furlough. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
I didn't understand this world at all. I didn't know what this code is.
So my insight was that
right now,
Earth,
your technology
there
and knowledge
involved
worth less than
a
ever
dharma,
before,
which
right?
might
Because
not
information
be
is
a
there.
positive like dharma.
Technology is
There might
hard.
be things
It's
to have
very
a
easy
dharma,
and cheap to obtain,
but
and it's
really
going to be only
important
cheaper and
for
easier
us
to obtain.
plant those
I
seeds
just think that the opportunity is so there, and it's part of the evolution of technology. When
What's up, everybody?
it's so
Welcome back
easy
to
that
Furlough
we
TV.
don't appreciate
Special
it.
guest who I met.
and
Actually,
uplift humanity
very,
through that.
very interesting experience.
like
What's
you
up,
said, like,
everybody?
somebody
Welcome
came
to
into
Furlough
the
TV.
community,
I'm
right?
your host, Joe
Do bad
Casanova, the
things,
founder
right?
and
With a
CEO
single letter,
of Furlough.com.
right? I
And
do bad
today
things
we
so
have
much.
a very special
And then
guest
it's
who's
like
dear
constantly
to me,
play.
very
There's
just my
a
partner in
fast
crime,
forward,
my
he's
co-founder,
here
the
with
one and
me.
only,
Leo
Fear
Perry.
Gadot. How are you doing, my brother?
Every time
Doing
it's a
good,
beautiful
man.
day
Doing
when
good.
it's
I know it is. It's just kind of,
pleasure to be here.
it really is a convergence of mind and brotherhood, and we've been on this journey
That
for.
day was
Family,
very
I know.
unique.
It really is. It is.
Just-
And
I'm
that's
not
kind
really
of what
on
we've
the-
been doing here.
Welcome
We've
to
been building
Furlough
it. It's
TV.
not necessarily a business model, but it feels like a
business
culture, a
marketing
family that we're
CEO
pushing
of
through.
Furlough. And today we have
And
a
we've just
very
had such a
special
strong
episode.
ties to
Again,
each other
I joined
and
with, like,
even
new
the
roles
roots
to,
to those that extend
just
around
climbing
us.
up the ranks of a great
If
friend
you
of
can,
mine.
just share a bit
Say,
about your story of Furlough and how it's actually impacted the way that you've done business.
That
My
weekend
story of
was, like,
Furlough,
super
my
funny
story.
because our actual
Your
business.
story of Furlough, let's keep it.
Okay, so my story of Furlough
I do feel
started
like we're
basically
becoming really close
Joe
friends
called me.
very
Interaction
quickly. It's
exchange.
great.
It's just we
Called
clicked,
me
voice
on
matched,
Zoom.
and now we're all in.
Yeah,
On a call.
Yeah, alignment,
Yeah, I
you
remember.
know?
We didn't have a time.
Absolutely. It was peak pandemic. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
last time
it
I
was peak pandemic, and it was
honestly.
So,
so we just
few hours before that,
you're my boy.
Right.
We hit it off good, and that's why I was like, we got to do this. I know that we have some
my
really
wife
interesting
and my
conversations.
boy
People
was
think
at
it's
the
outside.
house.
I know somebody's gonna get
Pandemic,
some value.
was
Fluctuation.
daycare,
Let's
that
start
shit.
kind of from the beginning. Get some.
So it's been a very busy time.
Tell a little bit about.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong way.
Sure,
to
yeah.
say,
So
You mean
again, my name
the
is
group,
Leo
all the
Perry.
brands and subsidiaries
You
under
know,
it, everything,
I've been an
like I'm
entrepreneur
speaking everything,
now
pretty
for
much from
about
customer service,
I
fulfillment,
went to
floor
college
mopping,
at Berkeley
marketing, and business. Okay, so
and I played
it's been
football
a
there, but
hard
also
couple of
studied.
years for me
Black
before that
I
day. where I was
graduated,
just working,
but I was
working,
never
getting the
really
business where it's supposed to
an
be.
academic,
And
even
that day, I
though
was just having that understanding that this shit is not
so
for me.
right in college, I
Now,
started my
what you need
first
to understand
So
about me,
it
when
all
I
started
get
with
to
the
that
sound
point,
resonance,
venture,
according to
when
the
I say,
I wanted
damn,
to
this shit is not for
create
me
a
once it's
social
voiced.
media
So
app.
It's already a done
AUM
deal.
has
I
many,
don't know
many,
when it's
many
gonna happen, I don't know
things,
how
and
it's
I
gonna
could
happen,
probably
but
do an entire
and
it was
podcast
already a
on
decision I
it.
took.
We're about to.
I'm going downstairs.
But,
I'm saying, I'm not gonna work anymore. I'm straight
AUM,
starting
it can
ones,
mean
all
three
that shit.
things. According
Football
to
teammates,
Hinduism,
And I'm telling this to my wife.
it's
now.
the
My wife
creator, entrepreneurs,
She's
the
a social
yeah, it
worker.
kind of led me to
sustainer,
I need to bring my
Florida,
money home.
where I do
destroyer.
technology,
So
software,
Florida,
Shiva.
I pay a lot for my life. I'm not
or
living in
It's
Bali
premium
shit.
out here.
Yeah, so I need to make
Yeah,
that
the whole
15 to
eternity,
20K a
of
month.
course, yeah.
Sure, we're gonna tackle a
And
couple
my
of
wife
Or
is
it can be
kind of
activating
used to
the
me
lower
getting money,
chakras,
right? So
Yeah.
the middle chakras, and
getting
the
down
upper
and telling her,
chakras,
like,
and
listen,
that
I'm done.
Yeah, I've
resonance
I
traveled
don't know
to
when I'm
from
gonna
the
figure out the
exact
buyout
number,
with my
like
partners, but
31.
I'm done. She's like,
is
It's the animalistic.
I
I
think
think
that
emotional
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm
Yes.
just in
perception.
Like,
Exactly.
she just had a baby a couple of
The
months before.
It's
is
made
Still
the
not sure
world
if she's going
a
back to
smaller
work. It's
place.
pandemic, like the world is
uplifting
on
But in a-
fire.
in a
start
good
of
way.
creation.
And
I
you're
mean,
doing a
like-
lifestyle
I'm
change
more
entirely.
I don't want to be
World.
racist when I say
Really
it. But I'm telling you,
sustaining
like,
that
listen,
energy in the
Mexicans are
body,
crossing the
obviously,
border
of,
and they figure it out. I'll
giving
figure it
that
out. Don't
creation
worry.
Places,
back
you know,
to
I am
the
American.
I'll figure it
I'm,
out.
you know, I am
And as
patriotic.
I'm having this conversation,
It's
kinda
the American
earns
dream,
me,
by the
I
way.
think,
Coming here with 20 bucks in
watching
your
other
pocket with a
realize,
little by bit- now,
just
a glimmer of
how we
hope
get
and
along
just
so
figuring it out.
I had a little more, but
safe
yeah.
Just
So
different insights of
I'm just
history
trying to
and
reduce her
and
stress
present,
levels.
which
I've
allows me
found
to
that
make better
She was doing
I've
the
done my
dishes.
best work when I
but definitely
on the other side of the sink.
Great
and
North Star.
Then Joe calls
Right.
me.
You who
The
have
The last time
actually
we met
interesting
was in the Shakira concert.
Everyone says Shakira concert because you got invited because of your work with Rocket
Like,
Consciousness
yeah,
Affiliate
connected
Network. How do you
development
feel
so
that
this is the bakshish,
spirituality
you
and that relationship with
And
God,
so-
forms of, I guess, consciousness that I know.
I didn't answer his call. Like I was still now in this heated conversation with my wife. I called him back.
I mean, the
Success
only
is
reason I've done
a
anything
couple of hours
in
after.
my life.
Meanwhile, my
is
intention of calling
like
you
God,
was that
I
this
don't
current
think
time
so.
is trying
Yeah.
to really
I like,
found
you
in
know,
the
like there's
early
people
stages
say,
of
you know,
the
your life
community
is
of what it
time,
was,
you
and
have, like, a
obviously for
piece
those
of
who
However,
don't
it was,
know,
I was like,
for
okay,
your
don't
work,
worry.
it was about a
blah,
year
blah,
in,
blah, like,
a year and
really
change,
the entire
and
pie
I just
is
like
God.
the first 6 months of
And
me
the
streaming
good,
every
bad,
day,
the ugly,
and
like,
I got on
God
Discord,
is
and it
the
was kind of
reason
back and forth
everything
between streams and
exists.
Discord,
I am
but then
God,
I
you are
realized
God.
that
I mean, that might
one
be
day I woke up
controversial.
and answered everyone's messages
Yeah.
to answer
So,
the questions that people that
controversial,
were
but
asking, but
I
then it
truly
was answered
believe
by the
that.
community, and
One
I
of
was
the
all
things
shift.
that
I was
I
like,
do
whoa.
But it's
And I really just started feeding
Yeah.
the
Whenever
beast.
I do
Ross
But
was
it's
really part of the community at the
the
time.
the
and
gratitude,
Bruno,
I think,
and
from
even Mike.
knowing that
and
we are
I
like
was like,
this
wow,
Wherever I go, so
who
the
don't
last
want
place
to be
that I
part of
was
this?
in
And
was
obviously, you were the
us,
first one that
which
came
is
to
what,
mind.
like, I believe
And
God
I was
is,
the
is
first
that
time?
it's
but
you're the
I've
first
been
one.
to
The first one.
Brazil,
You're the only
Beckham
one.
with
It was
Bali.
because like at the time it
Whenever I
was
do travel,
a lot
I
of
just
talent
take
that
one day
was me
to kind of
training,
get back
you
to
know,
giving
and
giving
I was
back
like,
to
man,
I'm
like
more, I like to
who
give
do I
back
look
to
at
people
as an
who
equal or
kind of
better
like
that I think could really
so
enjoy this?
you know,
And
whether
it
it's
wasn't.
just,
It wasn't
you
just
know,
like
getting
it
supplies
wasn't. I
or
didn't
from
think when I thought of you, I didn't think like, oh, we're gonna be
Yes,
rich and make money
exactly.
together. Like that wasn't what I wanted. If
It's
I
just
wanted to
giving
call
back.
people that
I'd
felt
like
like
to-
so much
when
more
it's
money
before,
motive, I felt like you
positive
I
could
just
see
like
beyond that and
positive
see
kind
that
of
yeah, there is
kind
money
of
to be made, but there's actually
allowing
a
me
more
to
special
beyond
opportunity,
you know, when
and
you
it just
travel,
felt right. And
especially,
like I thought you, I was like,
have
oh my
means
god,
to
I
kind of
instantly called you, and it was
experience,
crazy because like
community
that
at
thought
level.
didn't happen
Even
the
the
whole time I
local
was
people don't get
like
that.
really building the
So
early
it's
stages of it.
so
But the moment it did happen was the moment you actually
So I
spoke
kind
it
of,
to existence to your wife. Like
you know,
I don't want to do
internalize
this
that,
anymore than your
and I
phone
just
right
felt
now.
like
Yeah.
because
But I think we
you know,
had-
you allow
I
me
think
to
you brought me
space
on
and
a
allow me to
crazy
travel
on
and
the
experience
stream
things
the
that
other
people
day.
y'all don't.
during
I remember I
meditation
wasn't
I
recording
and
the stream. I don't know
give
if it's
back.
like 4 for low.
And that's
Dharma.
kind of like
community
I'd
started.
really like to get that
Yeah.
interview. We gotta find for those that aren't.
I remember that.
Dharma
I
is
remember
like
also
the
a couple
law
of
of
words
That's
we
what I
had.
just
Like
do.
it
So whenever
was
I
in the
travel,
pandemic,
so
the
like
next time
we
I'm going
operate
somewhere
like
with
in
like
employment,
the
doing the
Midwest,
West, remote work, shit like
uh,
that.
American
I remember a lot of
like,
it.
you
It
know,
was
we just
fucking
have
A lot
busy
of
in those
ages
days.
ago, a
So.
whole lifetime.
Right.
But this was the last conversation we've had. I wasn't sure what you're doing. I was like, okay, cool, I'll support whatever I can. But back to
Or
where
that
work,
phone call,
so
yeah.
call me.
like,
I'll
you know,
call
like
you
those were
back.
things that
My biggest problem is
a
You don't think
dog-
about twice,
understand
right?
people
Yeah.
to speak fast.
but
Speak fast.
we actually
This boy is
Especially-
pretty fast.
especially when I'm passionate about it.
Yeah, but like
subject
I'm not
to
hated.
the laws of
Like,
the
if you
cosmos.
speak to
the
me slow,
laws
I
of
get
nature,
everything.
the
Like, this is
organic
good, but
beings
kind of
so
living
he
on
runs
Mother
fast.
Earth with the
Falling
laws
and
of
unraveling
Mother Earth.
before me.
And also,
How
I
do you
was
feel
high
you are in
because
your
my wife
goes
got
under
me
the
upset.
about the
I roll the
solar
joint.
system and la la la, the macro, macro, micro.
It's
smoking
interesting.
and talking
Law
to
of
you, my
attraction.
attention
It's
goes
definitely
down.
not like how it was
I'm
back in the
smoking
day
as
when,
I'm doing
sleeping
it.
in the
Yes.
office
And
couch,
then
Yes.
eating
It tells me a
ramen,
lot.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Because
flow and this and
energy
so it's
is
not that,
I don't know
not
what
just
this
it
is.
energy
has
of like,
Mental
oh, I'm
rooms,
doing something, but it's also
or
like
not
evolved
connecting the
into
dots.
a different
And
grind. Just
I
in
have
a
something,
different
have a
phase.
great
I think the
team,
grind
my
now
business
is
is
bring
that.
or
more
manifest
like,
something
about
in.
making
I wasn't
good
still
decisions.
going one
like
way.
Because
yeah,
back
I've
in that
I
time,
was
way.
finalized.
the only
wanting to go
Yeah,
up.
and then you're just
people
being
that my
tugged in different
decision
ways, and the
impacted
this
energy
shit
is
that
not
I'm
able
doing
to
is
like
not
drive
myself or
forward.
Also
very,
knew
very
I'm not gonna look
close
for a
to
job. You know,
I
nobody's
don't know
gonna hire me.
why
when
I
you're an
started
entrepreneur that
talking
has
about this.
employees
See where it goes.
or you know,
But I didn't know what I wanted.
Dharma,
So
right.
clients,
It was like
So
your
the
decision
my head was
cosmic
not
law of
ready yet
righteousness,
to
like
accept that invitation.
the
employees,
entire
your
universe
customers,
is
and
made
their
of
family.
I
duality.
bought time.
Like,
So it's like
Right?
and
So
the
you
now
time that there's
do some
that's
due
what it
diligence,
meant to
send
me.
me some
Because
stuff.
every decision
Like, you know,
you
like
make
every cold outage
has
comes
that
to you.
domino
I'm
effect.
not
stillness.
saying you're a cold
Where
outage.
before you
Some
kind of
I
yogis
needed time. I
Lukewarm
wasn't cooked.
outreach at best.
I wasn't
Pure
cooked
state
enough
of
to say,
stillness.
yeah, sure,
There's
let's do this.
absolutely
Yeah.
harmony and,
So,
and
uh,
nothing
having
now
that
it's like
conversation,
you have
I'm sitting
that
out,
you have to be a
telling my
little
wife,
bit more
listen, you
precise.
see,
And,
already I got an
So
opportunity.
my
I'm not
insight
talking
so I
nonsense.
think
was
that's where the
that
grind
on
has changed more
Earth,
mental.
there
I am
are
not-
Where before it was
to
more like
have
time,
a dharma,
like physical
which
time.
might
That
not
knows me.
Like I need to be
I'm an
places, I
offline
need to do
person.
things.
My
There
biggest
might
Now
skill
I'm
is
to
talking
have
shit
a
spend a lot of
dark
time in my
dharma.
head.
One-on-one.
It's like, I
But
gotta
it's
really
really
figure out
important for
capture
us to like plant
whomever I
those
want
seeds
to
of like
speak to them and
positivity
The grind
and
is
light
get the
and-
connection and the
and
trust,
harder, but
but
more
as
messages
mental.
of God
fluid
and
communication
divine
going.
through our
At the
dharma,
end of the
through our
journey, you're like,
I didn't
purpose,
understand this world
and
at all.
uplift
Right.
humanity
I didn't know
through
what Discord
that.
is.
And it's not
Um,
necessarily
or
about
else
So I
we're
had a lot of
just
conversation
subject
during
to
this
the
month
Maya,
with
the
Joe.
illusion, and
He explained to me,
the
I came to
seven
your brother's
deadly
house in
sins,
Miami
because that's
in
the
Linwood.
surrounding.
He showed me on the
And
computer
of
and the
course, there's no
website
right or
and
wrong.
the influencers and
It's
you
just
know
with
all
the
that, that there
scale
was a
and the
lot
spectrum. Yeah.
to grasp because again, for Roe, it's a very
size,
broad
how
concept
big an
and
organization
it
is.
touches
Yeah.
a lot of
Even
areas.
the
So,
negative forces.
in
It's
terms
not-
of like the
Oh, it's
primary
served
like
for marketers.
Yeah, oh, it's
software
a
company,
direct
marketing
creatives or
company,
influencers
it's
only.
very
It's like
small.
it's
We're
an
very
ecosystem.
efficient,
So to
because
try to
I
explain it
consult
is very
with,
hard as well. I learned
light,
it on my own. You know, just trying to pitch business,
I have
Yeah.
about
speaking to partners
So
and things like that.
where do you see
that I
this
work with,
So I've
and
joined
they
maybe
each have
50
about
communities.
20
Some
as
paid,
individuals
some
aren't
paid.
really
employees.
tapped This is part of the due
So
diligence
it's
process.
almost,
That's right.
you
Because I
know,
remember
plus
seeing every
about
day you were in
100%
different Discord channels
becoming
with
more,
members,
easy
just
to
like learning from them, and you'd hear their story and how kind of bought in they were. And then you're just like, you told me, like, hey man, I checked all the other communities out there.
You might not be dealing
So I joined a lot of communities. I didn't check all of them.
Take that back.
Yeah,
of course, it's definitely
I
got
would
different.
say
Yeah,
the
you can't
best
fight
or
that.
the most
Yeah.
But regardless
Well
of
known,
discoverable,
well known
it's
to
not got the
when
trend.
it comes to
You know, like we
entrepreneurship
saw
and
TikTok
marketing.
was a trend. Content creation. And
There was
started
still
podcasts
not
as a trend.
very
It's kind of
clear
been our inherent
understanding
divine
for a lot of
nature.
it's
Um,
marketing,
Yeah.
digital
Where do you
entrepreneurship.
see
Like
it's
this
a
it's
it's
still
a
in
its
balance of
infancy
two
in
things.
terms of defining
Where
that.
you have to kind of
But the thing I remember, so
be-
I wanted,
one thing
I'm
that
a big believer
I
of
always
speaking
gave
with the
my
consumer.
creative
Yeah, I mean,
relationships
I
with
think like
everybody.
Build a brand,
lot
hold the
but,
line,
you know,
customer
what I'm
systems
service.
that have
seeing
been
is like
in
a lot of
Here,
people
control
take
for a
their
long
shit.
time
And it
are
I
takes
wanna know
away
what
from
they're thinking.
my
I want to know what
people
they
are
say.
starting
own
to see
time and
through it,
energy to
right?
make
Like
those big
if you go
decisions
back
we talked about.
10, 15
So
years,
it's kind of like you
different
have to say
presidents
no,
Austin, let's
more,
chat
around
with
like
but at the
Bush or
same
whatever.
time,
People were really
speak
like,
with
oh my
Sajad?
god,
Bogdan,
these
Sajad?
are
Bogdan, yeah, I
I know
know
that.
them, like, they
And
really
just
know what's
try to
right for us,
understand
and now
what this
people
is
are
all
just
about.
Both
from
parties
your
are
perspective.
bull, yeah.
Everyone's just like,
And I'd be like,
what
a
is
cutthroat
this
guy.
like
We've had
crazy
show,
play?
yeah.
And it's like, okay,
But,
you're
you know,
starting to see
it's
that
not
it's
my
actually
nature.
play. Like
So I've always
you know,
had
play.
people
to
open
kind
Everyone
of
is a character and everyone is
combat
an
those two
avatar.
I
things.
think we've had a
They're all
nice
having
percentage
where, you know,
opening
I can
cameras.
say,
different
like,
insights,
A
but
gracefully
conversation.
say no.
when
Need to
you
explain
and
myself.
said that,
So I
that's what
see
I
that
do.
the vast majority
I
are
think
Where
younger.
before I was
like
very
how we were
motivated,
aligned,
saying, yeah, sure,
as
let's do
you
this, but let me
go,
help you with
like,
I
that.
would say
enlightenment
And I would
between
just wear
marketing and
myself thin.
entrepreneurship. And
It's
I
not
think
like
this
Again,
is the
I have
best
responsibility
definition.
to
you've been
I'm
enlightened,
myself and my
and
family,
like of
marketers,
course there might be
employees,
moments where you're
clients,
like,
a little
oh
more than
wow,
marketers.
like
They
So I
wanna
have
do
to kind
business.
of make sure that
so
whether
I
it's
understand
good,
writing
so much,
services,
I'm
like they're
aware
not
of so
can
much,
necessarily
but like
looking for a job.
being in a human body,
before I
as
just
you
help
are
everybody.
constantly
like
bombarded
the-
with
So
these,
I would say
the
the
learning
humanness of
not
being
only
this
how to
meat
say no,
locker of this meat
but
This is
suit
what I
of
do
you know,
more
when
in all my
to say no.
companies.
impermanence
gotta
of
match
People,
your
I
life
team.
train
and
people,
everyone
and I
knows
get people to be
eventually
better.
gonna die and
Hey, that's how you
blah,
hooked
blah, blah.
me.
Like you're constantly
Yes, sir.
deteriorating, and
Yes, sir. So,
that becomes a really big
say that,
reality.
I came to the
Stop.
conclusion that I
Get
like it.
older,
I
but,
understood what upselling is.
big
But
high
also
Why did I
from the
bring
position
that
of doing good.
Where we're going.
To build a funnel and make money, I can do that.
Yeah, the veil.
But-
I think that it's
Can't do this
based
long
on your
time
karma.
enough.
I'm ready
So I'm
to.
not gonna
I
Right,
was,
it's-
you know, the
What
young
the
blood
fuck
that's
are we
like,
doing?
I
Not
work
only
karma,
can
not
you
dharma.
No,
So
so
I
this is
found
your
that
karma.
angle
Your
enticing. Like,
for
So I
one to
came in
be
like,
I can do
never
for
connected
myself.
to their
And I mean,
There's a
purpose.
lot of angles was
They
I
have
can evolve
many
and I can
lifetimes
play and
A lot of variety.
do shit that
It's
I
like,
want
think
to
of it
do.
like a 360
So
circle.
it was like
Right? You do
very
good things,
soft
all right,
You
I'm
do
going
that.
higher
bounce
and higher
back
and up.
from
Cut one
that
Right? I
other
do bad
partnership
things
we
upward.
figured.
I'm going backwards. And then it's
I
like
gave up on
constantly
the
this play.
battle.
And if you're unaware, you're just like,
Clearly,
oh,
no
well,
money.
I'm gonna,
Let's say
I'm gonna
I
watch
could have
this
got
book,
on
or
with
I'm gonna
darn
fucking stab this
10,000,
person with a
didn't
pencil
have
in
it.
the back in class or
obedience,
whatever
didn't
fucked up
have
things
the
people
so
do.
weird. I had someone do that in my middle school. Like I was like, why put a random example? But sure.
Yeah, I don't know, like
It was a
just
Palm Pilot pen.
Okay, cool.
motherfucker. We gotta get him.
just build something better. And
moral
whatever.
morality, and passion in the sense of
That's
just
what
But,
I'm hearing.
like,
but I mean,
when you're unaware and you're
a lot of
ignorant.
happens.
Yeah, I
and
think
taking
the community has
on that
obviously
point, I think
evolved. I
what
think our
helps with
understanding
that,
of who we're speaking
where,
to,
you
you
know,
said that it was mostly a
sucked
marketing
into
you don't
entrepreneurship
have,
audience, and now we're seeing a lot
every
more
action
developers
that's
and
how the
creatives,
dynamic
and
is
it's really
the type
created
of
this
people
two-sided
that
Whatever
marketplace
someone
of
is
collaboration.
because you can
absolutely
have
deserve. I don't
those
Then
care
when
how
you came in,
hard it
actually, the
is.
first thing you
It's
said was, look,
the law of
in
nature.
a
I
way
know that we
that
have
If
this
they
brand thing,
killed
we're talking,
someone,
but I
So
want
they're
to do
getting
something for
even
their
startups.
family killed
you know,
in
that
this life.
fear
When I
mentality
started
Their
Booster
past
with
lives, they were probably
Created,
killing
which
people.
I always
like
like to
do
say
something
it's
to
like
tell
a
you
Shark
this
Tank
is
or
not
more
right.
dolphins,
that's
where
like,
we're
they
not
betrayed someone in
attacking your
business.
business.
Yeah,
we're
but,
entrepreneurs.
oh, right. Yeah,
By
okay. If
saying,
someone
okay,
Do
betrayed,
that
you
and
get
just
betrayed in
continuously
business.
moving
giving
forward,
value,
Probably-
giving value.
You
So
some people
for those
that
that don't know what
Yeah,
Flow is,
and
now that
so-
you've had a
You
few
came
years
into that
under
with
your
a
belt,
dealing
and
with
now that
competent
it's
people.
evolved
Right.
since the day that you
Back to
joined,
you.
what would you
Versus
describe it
sometimes
as?
when you're dealing
The
with like
beauty of
So on
that
the
that
is
aren't
problem,
once you
competent,
become
let's say I don't know.
sometimes you just got to tell them, and
then you're able to
it doesn't
find
even
a
make
ladder
sense
of
for me to tell
General
you why.
public.
a
Just do
master
it.
of your own reality.
So because I've
So
surrounded
there's a
myself with
place
people
where
that
I will
awareness.
I
But the problem
trust their
is
feedback
people are like, oh,
expertise,
and their
NPCs,
competence
la, la,
and their
la,
ability
like,
to do
when
the
it comes
job
to everything.
better than
people
me.
are
Like
not,
I've
they're
surrounded
not, they're
myself
not
with a
real
team that
people,
know things
but
better
they
than I
just
do.
don't have
So
that
everything
self-awareness
is
to
collaboration.
actually
So now I
be able
can
to
be
control their
empathetic,
reality because they
compassionate,
But
and
I
not be an
think more than
a-hole
anything,
when
it's
you're having
about
conversations
mind
because
it's a movement.
I know that they actually
Say
know
it.
more than me.
They
They might not have
It
the
starts by
the
us giving
organism,
tactics
universe,
for
that
others.
or
everything
to
is
know how to
kind of
implement it like me,
playing
but they
trying
know
to
Yeah, so
mentor,
how to
her
do it better
environment
than
is
me.
kind of
trying to
So
help
because of that, it
reality,
holds the
which
discussion,
allows
and I
hundreds,
don't
if
I
not
don't come
thousands
across
of
as
entrepreneurs
like
and businesses.
behaviors and
superior.
Never
actions
asked for anything.
and
even to
paradigms,
myself.
which
happens
But
as a
when
result
you're
is
in a
actually, I
room
think they
where
have the
you
illusion
are
of
superior,
help,
other
it
people
automatically
they're basically
you become
succumbing to
superior.
So
But when you
the
surround
average
yourself in a room
gnosis
where
that you see
right?
from a
not,
member that joins
And
a
you
community
might be on that
slow down.
grind set.
So I
and
think
pushing
that's
and
what
trying
has
to
helped
will
me
things
be
to
more compassionate,
existence
empathetic.
versus
Why is
like
this
realizing
The
man?
fact
I
that
met
I've
so
surrounded
many
myself
nice
with
people.
people that
Everybody's
are
so
very high
nice.
level
back and
individuals.
breathing.
Right,
I
and they're
found
surprised
that
about it.
when I wasn't trying to
Nobody, like,
forcefully
trusts people help.
grind
And the
my,
mods,
my
you're trusting
you
but
know, the things I wanted
How
to
come they're
accomplish,
so nice?
that
I'm
this
like,
sort of quantum.
I don't know, like,
and
you
if
came
it's
to my community,
creation,
should I make you
things
feel
started
bad?
unraveling. Yeah, which is actually an
You gotta
experience
keep
we
it
had
in
when we were checking out
But I
other
was
communities to
seeing
partner
this
up
world
with.
in
And
first
it was
person
just like it was this
perspective.
ego that came attached with being a moderator of the group.
But
But
yeah.
you know, I wasn't gonna name names for sure.
No,
But
no, I mean, it just
it was a startup community for better words. But yeah, and it's wild because it's funny every time someone tags me or they tag you, I see an apology that feels like sorry to tag you. I just wanted to say, and it's like. Tag me all day for comment. If you're gonna sit and compliment the thing that we built together collectively, we all co-created this, and you want to tag me and thank me for the success you're finding from it, like yeah, you don't need to apologize from that. And then their response is like, oh my god, you're so. Response was like they think we're gonna attack them for giving us a compliment, which is it's wild to think. Like I don't know. I just feel like the culture out there, especially with the world, it's a dog eat dog world. It seems like it's more keeping player versus player, and with us, this is not even us against each other. It's like us against the world, and when you're a part of us, it's not that competition. It's just pure collaboration.
There's more to
Right?
it.
And we found that with the story of someone like Eric and Rosslyn, two email marketers who would generally in any other space would look at each other as competition, but actually kind of sourcing their knowledge to serve someone on the other side, which is truly a unique experience in itself.
What's your deal?
I'm not sure about
I
that.
think when I do have that
What do you
time
think
with
about my
people,
representation?
it's
What
very
would you ever
authentic
change?
and
That's the thing, because like
Kinda
you
like
know,
us.
I
You know,
thought
we
about
don't
this before in the
necessarily
sense that it's not that I would change
or
it,
even
because I think you're absolutely
Amen.
right.
That's the point.
And I
I
think
think
if you ask everyone in this world to describe you, everyone that you know to describe you, everyone would describe you differently. If you ask me to describe you, I would describe you differently. How you would describe yourself is probably different than when everyone else would, right? And then if I ask you 10 years from now, everyone answers change. So I think it's an ever-changing one. So I think in the state of where you are, absolutely, I think that's a perfect description for where how you see things. How I see things, and I guess it's in the position I have to kind of be forward-thinking, and I see this, 10, 15, 20, even 100 years after when we're all gone, and it becomes an automatic, system that is, autonomized, that we're all collaborating and growing together, and our children are probably collaborating. That's how I see this. That's where I'm living. So. Yeah, but I think being retired or having access to money is not gonna stop you from being able to create. And I still think that it's just gonna enable them to have better opportunities to create what they want and not necessarily have to create things that they're forced to for an exchange of services for exchange of financial compensation. And that's why, like someone once told me that you have to make your dreams so big that your team can fit their dreams
lower
within it. And I
vibration
think
would
that
assume
with
so, because I've
Furlough,
never had
and
it.
the
It's
dream
hard for
of
me
this
to explain.
ecosystem and
It's-
what you
it's
said,
not
all these
where
different
I
verticals,
had all
it's
the
so
social
wide
media and then I
that
cut
you
it
can
off.
easily, like, you
But
want to go
if
into
I
the
had to
startup
kind of
stuff.
observe,
And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And you're able, let's say you're just limited to how your goals and ambitions are limited to startups, you can accomplish that here. Someone like Tom might want to, do something on the systems and
Exactly what you said,
operations and
I
create
have-
this crazy
my
organism
intention
that,
is in
is automatic and servicing to people. He can do that as well.
So,
And
yeah,
Lawson
I would
just
say
wants
a
to be a
lot of
thought leader in the
people's
email marketing space, or actually
One,
grow into
when
more of
she
the
wanted
omni-channel
to
marketing.
build her
She can do
brand
that as
with
well.
our
Or if like a
like
creative,
have
yeah, she will do that. And there are
all
specialists
this
wants to get into a manager and eventually a
going
director
to, like,
position
spiral
and manage different brands in
in the
different
mind
sectors.
of,
Like
everywhere.
that
I'll
can
never
happen
be like
too.
Yeah, I
So
would say so.
or I'll
to
never
say
be like
like
Deepak
to
Chopra.
limit this to one
Comparison,
description,
beef of
I
joy.
don't think
Yeah,
it really
yeah, and
services
having
what
all
Furlough
these
really
lists
is,
of
because
beliefs of, like,
I'll simply say Furlough is a
one doesn't
space
have the
for
mental
your
space
greatness
to
and
loud
whatever
and
that may
stuff,
be,
yell at
because
each
your
other.
definition of
Which
greatness
happens
is simply
$2
aligned
million
with
in
your
funding,
beliefs
blah,
and
blah, blah.
intentions of what you
You
want
got
to put out in
tea
this
and
world.
you're like,
We're
oh,
just a
You just
vehicle.
need to
Yeah,
start.
I'll
right?
take a
And
tea too.
this
I'm like, hey,
vehicle,
babe,
I
have a
hope,
drink.
26 years
and
old, like,
soon in
you
due
need to
time,
just
we'll
start,
see this
like,
vehicle
start
evolve
something.
a bit
And
more
I
and
actually
have more,
spoke to,
technology attached to it that is, I guess,
CFO,
proprietary and very
Chopra
unique to what we offer,
and I was
it'll
having
end
a
up
conversation
rewarding
with him
our
and expressing
members
to
even
him
more
that
than
I
it
was
just
going
does, because
There were
right
more
now
people
it's
at the
sharing a
table
lot
that
of
weren't
education,
drinking, that were
it's
drinking,
it's sharing a lot of
you're
connections and
comparing yourself to
networking,
people who
and
are like
also
20 to 30
obviously
years old and
opportunities
who have
in the
had
form of
many
business,
failures,
but
who have had been great
soon it
successes,
could just
but you have to start
offer
somewhere.
way more beyond
going
that.
back to what you were
And I
saying.
think that's a
Actually,
really
but I
big
have a
thing for
follow-up
people who are
question.
wanting to start their own
Compassion.
companies is that
Come
they're
back.
scared.
How much fault in
And
it?
there's no reason
or
to have
using
any
fear.
fear, really, because if
20
your
to jump
mind
along
and your
now.
heart
Whether it's
are,
people
and your
What would you do?
Yes.
are in
So
the
I
right
think
place
It's funny
and
because
you're
I think
doing
about
That's a
that.
good point.
Sometimes
I
I
think
think
bigger
about
than
when
yourself.
this
Mental
doesn't
health
require
is
me in the
important.
day to day. I'll
I'll
step back, I'll resign, and then I'll make a
Versus,
anonymous
before in the
account
workplace, it
and
was
just
about
join Discord as
the
a
end goal was
person that
about,
doesn't get on
you know,
camera.
What name are you
Say,
going to
got
choose?
two
I don't know. I'm Ophir, since you always pick my name whenever you order drinks.
putting the
Bro, it's
hours
impossible to say my
for some
name.
disputes, so.
So when we went to go eat, this guy, I'm like, oh, my name's Joe. And she's like, you're Joe too? I'm like, oh, okay, wait, no.
They asked
He's
about
Joe.
you.
I'm Ophir, I guess.
I was using the name Joe before.
I know. We
You know,
love
I
the
know some people
synchronicity.
right
So.
now that
But I have thought about that before.
hundreds
If
of
I can
thousands of
be
dollars
anonymous
in
and for
loans,
low,
they
I think I can find
can't get
opportunities.
jobs.
And
So
easily, I think I can get to at least 10K.
why do I have
monthly
to
recurring
how much
revenue,
time?
even
I gotta make
if I'm not
150,000
quote unquote
So they
American.
went to a bunch of people that made
I would go
150,000.
in and
Because of
immediately
that,
try and answer
and
as
it's
many
like,
questions
you
as
don't
I
know
Like
can.
5
what
million
it's
in
gonna
liquid
look like.
assets.
The
Let me
problem
Then
is
they
a
went
lot
to
of
a bunch
people
of people
come in
making
and
5 million liquid assets.
they go in and try and find
You're rich.
deals, and
And
they
they kept
blast their
going.
services. Like, we don't
Because-
need another
and I
blockchain.
You don't think you're rich, and the reality is
And no one wants to work with a, oh, here's my designer profile. Like, it's
rich.
like, show your work. If that's the
how
case, and by
you
showcasing your work,
change
you're going to
the
showcase your
economy.
expertise.
So I
So
think
first thing I would do is
just like with
every day
happens
dedicate
all
5
day.
minutes to just go through all the channels, or dedicate to certain channels, depending. Obviously, the volume has increased a lot more, so it's hard to. It depends how committed you are. But tagging, responding directly to people, and your name's going to be there. And the more you write in these messages, the more your color is going to change, which your color is based off your roles, which if your roles bubble up, people are going to be like, okay, he's a regular there.
Yeah, let's
So
do
soon
it.
people are going to start seeing your name, and even what people don't realize internally in those,
This
you
is
know,
not
conversations
financial
with the
advice.
managers,
I'm
the
not giving-
distributors,
well,
those private chats that
maybe,
we have
it
with
works,
thought leaders
it
and
works.
leadership in our community.
Um,
People are talking like,
That's
oh,
why I
this
only
person,
text
did
them.
you guys
Why-
see
why
this
am I
person?
gonna
No,
put
this
30,
person
40,
definitely,
40,
like,
40,
they've been
45.
they've been
People are
giving
like,
value, you know. So there are these
I have to
internal
work with
dialogues. So
this
I'd get on the radar of these people and kind of inject myself in those conversations. I would definitely, you know, anytime someone says, hey, is there any video editors here? I would reply to that, and I just tag at video, because the way the community is built, it would say your name, and your name would actually, your username would have your profession in it. So if you do at video, then you'll have all the videographers.
Oh my God.
It's
always a nice little gift.
No, well, yeah. I mean, if you do like at email marketing, it would tag everyone with that
Maybe
interest,
don't
but
do
those
the
aren't
name.
necessarily.
Yeah,
I'd be
Whatever
very
resonates.
selective in who I would pick.
That I've seen,
But
but what I have seen that kind
Because
of
one day it's gonna come.
combats that
It would, yeah.
based on the roles, so it's
how
gonna be
small the world is. And
No,
especially
it would
since
just
we're
show
talking
based
about
off the name, because you're tagging usernames. You're not tagging
And I
roles.
want to share with you an
Yeah.
insight.
So I would simply tag all the video editors, and then
they-
people are like, "Wow, thanks
they
for
kind
tagging
of
me.
saying
Who are
it's
you?"
okay
And
to,
it's
like,
this.
their work
It's
on
buyers.
their
I'm sorry, it's
work
givers
and
game,
having a
right? right?
more
If you give, you're the one that
holistic
gains.
lifestyle,
And to give is to
working
receive. And
less,
that's a mentality a
but
lot
then
don't
they
have.
subsidize
People
the
think they
work
need to
that's
take.
needed.
And the reality is, if we all shift into this giving mindset, it'll all come back
So a
to
lot
you.
of businesses
And this is a
that I
great
know,
place. That's why when we gave from
probably
the
I would
top,
say
it became
80%
top down, and now it's coming bottom up.
100%
We
of
gave,
all
give, all this stuff. And then now people are like, okay, well, I can't give back to them. They seem to have it. So let me just give to someone else.
Yeah, they're not. Well, yeah, whatever they are. It's
So
just
being
it's
part of
just
that
best
culture
talent I've
and on that
work.
culture.
Exactly.
Chiming in whenever you can.
So it's
going
like,
to
you
the
know, instead
events.
of
Obviously,
you,
all the regulars of the
working,
community, the
you
active
know,
members are always on camera in the events.
50
If you're on
hours
camera,
a
great.
week,
If I'm in this,
you know,
Go from here,
anonymous
right?
one, but if I was
Very
22
easy.
again, yeah, I'm coming on my camera.
But
now
I'm
I,
excited.
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
beanie.
put a little
Yeah,
laugh.
maybe get some black frame
So
glasses.
that's kind of
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I've seen.
dye
where
my hair or
it's kind
something.
of
Yeah,
it's
you know,
Some hair, you
but
know,
yeah,
right on the
I'll get a
shoulders.
wig, a wig and like a,
for talent.
you know, and
It's-
start a
it's-
fake
it
LinkedIn.
doesn't-
You know,
that's what I've seen business
for sure.
Now,
But
in terms of bringing
yeah, I would
coaches
definitely,
and
you know,
mental
it's just so
health,
easy to get involved
outside of
and just to
advisors
give
and
and make
consultants.
connections these days. And
not as
where
much,
in the
but
world
I've
can you
seen
click
that
a
people
button,
with
be
the
in a
grain,
room
Very
with
loaded
like-minded
because
questions?
again, you're
I
not
know
going to
it
Yeah.
change somebody's
What drives me
mind.
Well,
crazy in this?
You can change your
And
business.
when I did my due
So,
and that's how
diligence,
they've
we
done it.
all
Like,
joined a lot of
offshore.
events,
very,
but,
very
right?
basically,
What I
Yeah, I
found
kinda
is
wanna
I'll
go
most
try
down
to
people
explain it.
mental
could
health
be community
path.
members
Right.
for
all
months or
have
in years,
My mind's
nature.
racing.
not
you
speak
know, and,
during events.
You know,
I
being
won't go
American,
into
obviously.
And we're doing,
But-
you know, we're doing all our executive
Written in the
meetings,
Gita.
I went through mental health. I was
high-level
Um,
meetings or our management
I wouldn't
meetings,
change
all
it
the
for
strategy
anything.
meetings.
Krishna
because
tells
public.
Arjuna.
Put me through the trials.
Literally,
and
almost
tribulations.
everybody
I
in the
really
server
can't
can
get
jump
into
in
it
and
right now.
talk.
It's going to
Yeah.
be way too
This
long.
is-
I'm
But
just saying, if I had the opportunity,
what
to
Krishna
have
says
this,
is that we
feel
all
speaking out loud what I think.
A
a
global
Speak your mind.
Swadbhava, which is
I
Or
would
is it- I mean,
love to
'cause
see
let's be honest,
somebody
with
come
our
men
in.
specifically,
Swadbhava
nobody cares what
determines
men
our
think,
how they
Swadharma,
feel.
our
Say, hey,
purpose.
So we know
don't you
that
think you
there
should
is
do
definitely
this?
men that
Oh
seek
yeah,
mental health.
just here's
I
some
wish
unsolicited
nobody
advice.
did it
Swabhava
with reasons.
is
And I know there's a
your
lot of
nature.
people in the
I
community
think
that can do it with
individual
reason.
is
I would
America,
love to see
but
those
I
people
think
come
in
in.
Western society,
Listen,
as
they
a
do
whole,
this wrong.
and
The
I
thing
want somebody
with
to
the
come on the
nature
BTS.
America
and listen,
is
they
the
didn't think about this shit.
is
Yeah.
that when
And
you're
nobody
born,
does it.
you have
Yeah,
this
I know, but that
infant,
goes
right?
back to
You could have
showcasing your
a mom
expertise,
have
getting
twins.
involved
So,
in the
for
events,
And
instance,
one
and
like,
baby is
a lot
even
of
in the
the
chat.
countries,
Because obviously the events,
they look
most of them are ran by the
I think
speakers,
that's
whoever's
just
being
changing.
involved in
Come
it.
into the
You know, whether they've been
Yes,
vetted
definitely
talent or
shifting.
people that are
Then
But
that's
collaborating
nature
in that,
nurture
That I
comes in,
think
right?
whatever
It's
event that
you have
is.
all
America's
these
But you're right.
layers
Going
on
in
top
and
of
seeing
us.
that they're all screen sharing, they're all
Definitely
talking,
piled
inject
on with
yourself
all
in the
this
conversations,
glory,
ask some good
our
questions that give some
yeah,
good
our
feedback and
family
insight.
conditioning,
Man, even if you're
our
grabbing this, going to
society,
ChatGPT,
the
getting the
country,
insights from
like,
ChatGPT
and
and
then-
putting
and
it
then when
in,
you're in
it shows
college,
that you're
right, you're
proactive
taking
and
on all these
and
different
contributing
classes,
to
all
the
layering
collective
our
growth,
social, all this
and that in
different
itself is
shit,
value.
right?
So,
Like, my
you know, and
experience
it's very
is
interesting.
probably
I want to hear your
50%
take
child
now.
So
So,
I definitely think
building in
that,
public, that's something that we
Somalia
obviously
or,
do,
you know, in
and
India
we
even,
feel like,
it's
This is a
just-
global
especially
we
economy.
have
10
all
years
these
ago,
different
building in
layers.
public
So
wasn't a
it's
thing.
global now
Everybody was
against
like, oh no, I don't want to show my
globalization.
data. Or,
Together,
you know, it's
so-
all,
And so
let's
the
keep it
nature
private.
Non-disclosure,
becomes
man.
Non-disclosure
contagious.
agreements.
7 years.
Yeah.
Post
Becomes
termination.
defiant.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it
And
has
and
all
now
these
it feels like we're
layers
leading
of
more into a
nonsense
world of
which don't really
transparency
belong
and
to you, but it's
collaboration.
just part of the human experience
Furlough
to
is obviously, I think, in the
born
forefront of that.
remembering
It's something that
and
we
then
truly believe in,
slowly
and we invite our
reach out.
shareholders
Yeah.
and our obviously the
And
brands that work with our community
so it
to be a part of
takes
these meetings
this-
because we're not hiding anything. Even our
this
members of our
depth
community,
of
you can watch this and be a part of this,
of
and you can
Right,
contribute in
to
it.
being,
get, like a
and
little
this
Where
usually
do you
comes
see,
adage
when
obviously
people
building
are
public
at
glowing,
the
but
lowest of
where else
lows,
do you
right?
see
For
that
one,
furlough
for some people
is
who are
actually
born
being
neighborhood
into like
or
yogi
close
families
proximity
or
that's better than you.
deeply
When
spiritual
building
families,
public
like
just
it
to
comes a
brings
lot
an envy
easier, right?
out of
Because
you
they
and
have
just
the
kind of feel like
parents
I'm less
conditioning
than-
them
But
Right,
to
unfortunately,
so
I'm not
unconditional.
majority.
But
Absolutely.
because of how small the
But
world
but
is,
it takes
the
this moment of
Joneses can be in a
okay,
different
like,
priceless.
what's
Right?
my
Because
people in
yeah,
different countries
priceless.
can see exactly how
And
other people
that's,
live,
Technology
that's
is
what,
hard
what
what
is
other
It's
also
very
doing,
easy
what
to
they
check.
have.
people come to
So
me
even
when
if you are
they
in,
are
so
looking
a
for they're looking
space
for
by
free,
building
they
in
want
public
something, they
isn't
want
as
more
losing
developed.
as
things,
much. And if let's say you
or
had
they're
trade
the
secret
intellectual and they want to
exposed
understand
to
more
things that
customer
you want
database
on,
because
or that
everybody
And it's
they're
kind of like
just
an ignorance
really
is bliss type of
believe
thing.
that means they
But
just
back in the
want
day,
to
you
love
only knew
So
what's
I
everything
think
happening
just
and
a
love
natural
God,
progress that comes
or
with the
they're
You know,
flow.
at
maybe a
a
newspaper
really
flowing
can
of
tell you more
information.
about what's
and
going on.
As
unfortunately,
far as
But
it's
now we all are
there's a
nation.
lot. I
You
think
know,
the
I know
most
exactly
important-
what some guy in Taiwan
So
or South
one aspect
Africa
of
What
it is
am
the
I
or
culture.
Brazil is doing,
Right?
Why am I
and
working
I
so
could
hard?
either
Now,
learn from it
recession,
and
Why am
be
I
time
getting
of
fucked up?
downtime
or
economy.
be jealous,
Why,
be jealous
why,
of
why,
it.
why,
There's so
why
many
are all these
ways
things
that
happening?
that person
And
cannot
that's when the
influence others.
unfeeling and
Versus
deconditioning
before,
of all
you
the
only
layers.
influenced by your neighbor.
Without saying
And
anything
that
about
when, that's
the
when
nature.
you really come into like understanding of who you are, and that's when you do all
It
the
becomes
inner
more
child work.
offensive
And
towards
you're
their
like,
communities
what
and
did
their
you
my
said,
baby
right,
self
just the
do?
natural
Did
way
I love
of
to play sports?
I'm stressed,
Did I
I'm
love
fucking
to
open up
dance?
social
care
Did I
media,
about
love
like
my
to sing?
own.
Was
Instagram,
I
you see
creating?
everyone
And
very
you're gonna
protective.
project
able
that
to really
trust.
understand the
Very
true
not
essence of
trust.
the individual
Comparing your
self,
behind the
right?
scenes to
Before
their
all
So
the
what
highlight
happens
reel,
as a
right?
result that the
And
more
then
the
you
And
have
when
situation,
that
TikTok
financial
comes and you're
situation
able
is
to
harder
understand your
on the
true
founders,
nature.
on the
For
team,
me,
on
it
the
came
it didn't
from
matter who
understanding
executives,
that, yes,
whatever.
I'm Hindu and I'm
They
American
they
and
create
I'm
worse
Indian.
business
instead of
relationships
being
with others.
interested
And
Right?
I
So
don't
we
see
saw
that
this
watching
as a
this
service
lavish
provider
lifestyle
and
that you
partners,
do
you know.
not
Like, I
have,
lived
so
in India, I lived
start
in
getting
payment
ashrams,
curated
and
morals
based
people
on
were
things
like,
that
I
dropping
have
when
to
there's a
stuck out like a
recession. Yeah,
sore
Give
but
them
thumb,
when you
all
have
the
but
what
I
needs
was
is
buildings
built
and
on.
connected
through
to
that, I
You don't,
felt
it's
like you
different.
kind of
culture
shifted a
So
little
I
bit
think
away
history
from
the
keeping
biggest
and,
thing
you know,
Jones's
the
area.
I
era,
have
Hindu
been,
philosophy.
What
and
era
so I've
do
came
you
to the
think
U.S.
that
and I didn't know what
because
us
it's
as
what
human
my
beings.
like,
ancestral
stories
lineage
of
was
USs and
practicing
stuff like
Well, you
that.
hit the,
thousands
you know,
and
the nail on
thousands
the
of
I want
head.
to do
years.
business in
The
the
North
West
means,
because
like,
like
it's
this is
attention.
the
The Yankees.
But I'm
proper
American,
And obviously you're
Eskimo
gonna
and
stay
I'm
on
doing
something
American,
you
and I
like
have
happy.
And what I was
mannerisms,
disappointed with
mannerisms of an American,
was the
It's
standards
the
of
transition, like
honesty.
here with
your
like the
attention
events
is
world,
Integrity.
expensive.
bringing people
You know, like,
together. So
somebody
I
can tell you what
understood
they
that
need.
my
Businesses, the
nature
agenda
Their
right now
actual
is
commitment to their
is
word.
And that's
is
the-
very
that's the-
big.
that's the new oil.
But why?
Very
What
easy
is
back
what is that? Because I have my own
Stab you on the
conspiracy
back.
too. If you want to put that hat on.
Like to me,
Why
the
do
biggest
they
asset
fight
I
for
always
your
had
attention
with
so
all my
much?
work is the people know
Uh,
if
oh,
I say
I
something,
mean,
I can trust it.
I would just say
They know that I also have the best interest in mind for them.
educated and
they have
So
the-
for
the
low
more
for me,
attention they have,
worked
need to
in
be on the
music
forefront
festivals
more
and
likely
we're
to
very
art
become a
direction
customer
and
We're
real
making
estate
sure that
developers
the
and had all these
members
cool
that are
experiences.
getting
There's no need to
funding
just
or
like
position
throw that away.
attention
That
for,
also
you know,
is something
marketing
that I
being
can take
tested,
with me.
because
I don't have to
companies
bring all the drugs and
communicated
partying
to
along,
the
but
point
I
that
can
we
bring
know, okay,
So I would say it's
this
it has to do
the,
with
the
capitalism.
two essences of what makes
more
so
so
this
than,
should be
like,
a
So
safe
I
house
probably
for
determine
somebody
that
doing
they
my
are,
business.
I would
to
say,
know,
some
okay,
bigger
love to
not gonna
sing.
shave
whether
me.
it
I
be
love
like
to bring together
They're not
you
gonna
know
communities.
backstab
nullifying
me.
you know
Love
people's
to
They're not
love.
gonna
So
not
like
pay me.
my
Yeah,
dark
yeah,
Yeah,
This is
I
respectful and
know
everything,
that, and
because
of
if
course,
not,
it's
there
very
will be an
focused on the
implication
phone, focused on
with
the
their own
outside.
position to
Music,
community.
and eventually
Exactly.
creating
So I don't think it's going to be
understanding.
ever
One of the things that
100%.
really made us
I
Because there's
bond
always
was
going to
the
be
fact
falls
that
through the cracks,
how
but I do
connected
think
that we
that
are in the sense of
Unlike
of
Upwork,
who we
all
are
the
within.
different layers of
unlike
it.
Fiverr,
This,
where you
like,
can
past
hack
life
the system of
ancestral stuff,
reviews,
my
you
mom's
find is your
bullshit,
you
practice.
my
can
dad's
manipulate
bullshit,
it
and
here.
Has helped
understanding
you
who I
understand,
am.
you know,
And so
gain
I guess
communication
the step by
versus
step
network.
is
So I do
whether
think
it's,
coming
you
into a
know,
place
doing
of
the shadow work,
self-awareness
to
what you
build that
consider
team
as
and
the
trust
then
in terms of
better
understanding
business
where you're
practices.
at in that
Personal
current
development.
I think
moment.
this is monumental,
Stripping away
especially
all
in
the
this
right
layers.
now, I would say
Understanding
The
what
other
your
thing
nature
is,
is, and then
so
if money
this
was
came
not
to me
a
when
thing,
my
if
daughter,
your
just before
lack
my
Again,
daughter
like,
came,
just
and
those
a
little things that I do
scarcity
with,
mindset
Yuli.
didn't
So
exist, what would you
people
be
in need
doing?
or
I'm a very
orphans.
busy guy,
or
right?
now,
So
like,
I
my
have 2
nieces
kids back in the
and
day. My
nephews.
wife is
And
pregnant.
then
It's
driving
just-
that.
I have
it
no
feeds
And that's
family
how you
here.
really
My
connect
wife has
with
no
the
family
art.
here.
But like for instance,
I
I've
run
just
a
had this
business.
like
So
Saw that.
change in what
I want to.
Something
We're gonna
very
retro
precious.
that real quick. 'Cause
And
I want
I
to.
don't
I
have
want to
that
bring it
when
back
I
because
was
that
just
was
chill and
fascinating.
fun
I
and
want to
life.
kind of use my personal experiences to further
places that
instill
My wife
that.
is
For
going
those
to
that
induction.
heard but
People
didn't
went
listen
to.
because
But now it's like
You know,
I want
you're
to
right.
take
shots,
Society
you know,
lays,
that shit.
puts all these layers
baby
on
doesn't
top
come
of
out
you.
until
And
Friday.
me,
So
who was
sitting
in
there,
where I
personal
am because of
development,
them.
going to a
The hospital
have
with
them
to
experiences.
speak with
And
no kids
Bob
around.
Proctor,
their
Les Brown,
reaction
Tony Rowe,
to
48
Rob
hours.
experiences
and
I can
learning
speak
better
of my
than
wife,
own
or
everything
she's
teachings
sleeping.
when I understood their
So I
teachings.
had some of
I was
it.
So that's more like
a little bit more
feeds my
balanced,
soul.
and I felt
Obviously, we
that
had
in
to
terms
be
of
through
personal
moving
development,
situation going
so
mad.
that
I would
Exactly.
say it's
journey
actually
of personal
having
development
like
is a
I
journey
had a
of
lot of
discovery,
reflecting to do.
and once
you
you
know,
are at
as I
the
was
it's
end
very
of that
hard to
road,
come
you'll
across
find that
Let's
you're
be
breathing
honest.
people that
Everything
and it's
connect
because,
digital.
on
you
that
know,
level.
Les-
Digital
And
services.
it's
I
kind
think
of
it
like
goes
a line
beyond
sharpens
our
iron
industries.
type of
And
mentality.
I'm seeing on what
So
I
I feel
know.
like personal development, you know, I've read
AI
books and
and
I've, you
everything
know,
like
watched
the kingdom of God
it's
is
very
within.
consumed content,
where's the throne
but
of God?
60,
there's something
70,
different
80%
when
of
you
that space is going to be
go
automated
through the
within
journey
the
of
next 5 years.
self-discovery.
so I
In a
feel like
way
that
better
is,
level
that's
than what
where
we're
that
performing
personal
right now.
development has changed. the
Like I'm
most,
just
is
thinking about
I have
ChatGPT
the
5 years
conversations
from now,
and
right?
I
And
have
it's
my,
ridiculous.
I surround myself with
So
like-minded
from
people,
that
or
understanding,
people that
like,
need challenging.
listen, we have
what
shown
is
you
it?
how to
You know, my
do
soul, I would say,
best
is my
practices,
family,
build the right marketing
friends,
team,
or people in need,
build the best
them.
technology
And
stack,
you
and all
really
that.
get a grasp of
personal
your purpose.
development,
And I always
it
felt
would
like I
be
had this purpose of
connecting.
Now
being
we
a
need to
space for
prepare
others'
them for
greatness.
the
I
next
did that with
wave,
my
which
team
is
as a
5
leader.
years from now, where
I
everything
left
is
from the front and
autonomy.
I amplified my team.
We need
I
to give
was
them the
Yes.
blueprint.
just
So,
food, basketball,
Right.
okay,
it's
you
the
come
focus.
in,
So
you're not
it's-
doing
so I'll
2019,
dive into, like,
2025 and expect to
every
make
Friday
money.
And I was doing that,
right?
and I created a company.
So
it's basically
for me is
all
meaning
types of
building the right products with partners in the community, building that opportunity for somebody. Just think about it. Like
video content, or like
this is what I would love.
video
To ask you, kind of reflecting on what I would love to do if I would join Furlough in 22. I could partner up with a community to launch, post the product, market it, get beta testers, get validation.
Their path
that
are all
and it's like
Launchpad.
I
If I
just
could
wanted to
do that, I would
dedicate
launch
my
products
day
every day. I would just source
myself.
developers from the Ukraine and get shit happen, you know?
Like dedicate
servicing
And it's
every
ridiculous to me that
showing
people
them
are
this
not
path,
doing
giving
it
them
because
the
it's so
lesson that
easy.
we
Well,
want.
you know,
technically,
myself
so
being
just for
the
context, you
universe,
have a few
collapse
partners right
times,
now in the community
Correct.
that are building these very
I
hyper-focused
took away as
you
many
know,
distractions as I could.
solutions
But
for
it actually is
MarTech,
it's
most
and
of
I
which is
found
marketing
that
technology,
this is a common
because we
practice.
understand
Yeah,
that whether you're a
well,
creative
see,
or
like,
developer,
when I
or
meet
marketing
someone
is
like
that,
you,
that
right,
Venn
like,
diagram middle
I don't
overlap,
have a
right?
doubt in my mind that you're
Marketing
not
is
acting
really
with
pretty much what every
your
brand
dharma
needs. So
in-
if you can
in
create these single
play,
hyper-focused
right? Like,
solutions,
in
then you create multiple.
everything that
You
you do.
you have this
I mean, there's
suite
a
of
light in
incredible
your eye
technology
because you
that
feel
can
that
clearly
lightness
amplify a brand.
because you're
So
doing
this is you
everything
looking
towards
in service
2028
of
and understanding,
humanity
okay,
for outside
how
of
can I bring
yourself,
these solutions
right? It doesn't matter
now
what you're doing,
to
but
this
what
community
you're
that can truly
doing
benefit from
is
it?
not only
Yeah, but I also
benefiting
want them to
you,
have
Obviously,
the
with
benefiting
opportunities
service
that
and
they don't
service.
have
benefiting
unless they
humanity,
go
benefiting
VC
the
shit
community,
and
Of course.
funding
right? So it's
and
like
building teams and stuff like that to be
for-
part of that
What is your
movement.
pay?
in that
Future
sense,
of
like
your future.
when
So
I don't know,
the
I don't
last
remember
I
thing
have
is
a very
obviously
Give is to
specific.
receive.
Yeah.
That's
to be
just
on the
truth.
forefront
Yeah.
of dictating
Yeah.
how
Put
this
it in
world
like-
looks.
It's all right. I'm like, I'm
Because
just,
like
I'm in
in a
awe of
nutshell,
that
it's
kinda like,
explanation
you
because
know,
sometimes
humble
like,
Pick
I
up AI.
knew that and I
Yeah.
explained
So,
it
you
to
know,
other
I
tribes.
do know
Right?
that
Upwork
I'm
AI, have you seen it?
Refreshing hearing.
But
What, it
again,
uses
there's
ChatGPT
something
to
about
create job
truly
proposals and
helping
stuff like
people
that?
So,
that
no.
are
It uses
all-
the AI to help you source
So-
talent.
Yeah.
This is
we
this is
soul
like
living, this is
my
what
life
you're
that I
fond
would
of.
like.
Yes.
So I
And
want
Have a
to
team of product developers.
others
This is
have
what
who
you're
are
fun
on a
of.
similar
homes in
path
different
and
parts
have
of
I
the
done
mean, I saw stand for map
Probably like
talent for
one-
years. I
actually
will never even
wanna
trust their
show-
their
Yeah, I
search
wouldn't.
feature.
I would not
Because
either.
now
Yeah.
I will
That
look
came
each
across
one and
my
just
mind.
dig
So I was
deep
just
into
watching
the
this
reviews
thing
and try to
about,
understand what I'm talking about.
Indonesia.
And I
you have
think
this beautiful home
so.
and it's like,
The
you know,
old
pretty-
It's like
generation,
the
the
path,
like the
right?
HubSpot and the
250,000.
Salesforce and all the big
Probably
companies
And
today.
I know a lot of
yeah.
people that have
The-
those.
So
Even,
the
you know,
first
here we
step
live
is
in South
their
Florida,
teams are
like,
not
That's
established
fine.
No,
to
snowbirds.
lead
I
this.
see it.
They're
The
not
second
there.
step
It's
is
going to come from the
self-understanding.
bottom up.
Homes
Yeah.
and
And I
they
think
go
we have the
away.
opportunity to be that
Self-discovery.
So it's like I
hub.
never,
and
I
then
wanted these
self-understanding.
homes, but
and
it's like
partnered
they
with
just
them and
taking
helping
up
them
space.
scale.
Self-transformation.
Of the
So I wanted
next wave of
self-mastery.
different home
automations in our
and a different
space.
kind
And
of
so I
30,000
found that
members of this
picture and I was
community,
like,
and
you
we
know, a
actually
year ago, I'd be
allow
like, what the fuck
these
does that
partners
mean?
of
Like,
ours
doesn't that all just mean the
equity
same
within
thing,
this
right?
community. And even
But those
on the other
words,
side,
they
if
have
you ask
such
me these
deep meaning.
questions,
The first
it's
it's
thing
something that I'm
desert,
looking
it's
towards
aware,
building
right?
where it
That's
actually
no-
is a platform that allows
stuff.
ownership
Oh God,
within
everyone's
based
talking.
off your
Like, oh my
engagement.
God, like, you know, like-
We just post ignorance
But I
with
always
our
wanted
members.
to
Yes.
And
farm
you-
on this
ignorance
one.
is bliss. It's way
Again,
before
obviously,
Yeah.
when you talk
And
about
when you
the
go into
terrain of snow,
self-exploration,
curious
it's
about
different, but
practices
they
like, do I
produce
how this ownership
out all the
something,
time, like
right?
am I, you know,
The ownership,
And
well,
meditate,
right, there's
what
two
is
sides.
meditation?
You have
Don't tell you,
the
that journey-
company
It occurred to me when I
itself,
was
which
watching
is
this
one
STEM.
step at a
Like
time.
we didn't start a
Yeah.
business
When
and
you walk that
created a
path,
business
that
When I'm
model.
not
We started a
using those
community
deep
and it
It's
created
down,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
business
yeah.
from
That's
So I
how
the
it's
wanted
top.
to
When
be
especially
I
somewhere
believe
the
that
end of it,
furlough
it's
in
gonna
itself,
hurt.
how
Yeah.
as it stands,
Getting
with
there.
its
There are some
you know,
valid-
But when I'm not
unit
using
of
it,
agency
absolutely.
services,
That's
with its
what
franchising
that
services,
has
with its
local-
staffing
that's that
solutions,
undoing. The
and
undoing
obviously
is
the
orphans
MarTech
to use it
offerings
as
and
theirs,
software
looking at
development.
trauma,
These
right?
it's like,
different
if I have
offerings
the
all
best
come
house in
from
Indonesia,
the community,
looking
and
at
it's all
mansion
partnership.
all
in
the
Indonesia
fucked
for
up
200,000.
things that you
The community
When I'm not there
itself
for 6
that you
months, instead of
did
just
is
that has
unfortunately
come up in your
centralized
life,
in the
What
sense
if
that
it was
I
so
am the
awesome?
creator of it
Orphans
through
could
Discord,
use
so it's
that
centralized like I'm
as
the
a
admin.
little vacation, a
But
weekend home.
People try and
so
congratulate me on
that's
stuff that
like-
happens with the
like
community.
work-
but
well,
I'm
you
like,
switching it up.
this
You know,
is
they,
not my
yeah, they
community.
can work the
It's
farm.
Like, I don't own it.
Again, they
You
can
guys are all
that the
volunteer to
food
be
that the
here.
farm produces
So
will go to them.
how do we
It's
give
just-
it truly
I don't like
ownership of the community back
things
to
just
people?
wasting
Right.
space,
So
wasting time.
this
So
decentral, like it's really truly decentralizing the community
Right,
and
exactly.
giving them
So it's
ownership
like,
of something.
I
And what is
want
that
to live
ownership
in
of?
this.
Well, it's
That's
the
my
ownership
big
of
thing.
the
Like, I
ability and
wanna be
direction
part
of
of
where
it.
this
I wanna
community
experience
goes,
this
which is
thing.
different than
We
the
are
furlough
Again, I've been
entity
we are the
of
same
do it,
the
but
company
I also
that we've
wanna
extended
have
with
that
community
ability.
members,
So
and we
like,
continue to
it's just
expand
how
our
deep
community
space
members.
you
I call
wanna
that
go
in
really
the
the Web 2
depths
side of
of
things.
who
And
you are,
the Web 3
right?
side of things is
And, like,
decentralizing the
I
community
think
because
and
like,
allowing
this
them
back
to
into,
have
like,
not saying anything
opportunity
about
of
other
governance
people, they can do
self-development.
and
whatever
saying,
It's
okay,
that
There's
we
self-mastery
all are
is,
effectively
I believe,
business
right
partners.
here and-
And
successful
the
Star
problem
Island.
that you've, I'm sure you have equity in a bunch of companies that sound good in the beginning, especially when you did the sweat
What is it-
equity,
what is
and then
it-
you
what is
ended
it-
up being
Yeah, like,
completely
and
worthless.
like
Because
those are all
how do you
great,
exit
but
out of
like,
equity? Right?
who is like the one
Yeah, you
percent
buy
of
it.
the entrepreneurs,
It's the only one.
people, it's
But
the-
with this system,
it's the
your ownership
I think
is
that's
a buy-in.
what
And that
like
buy-in goes straight to a treasury.
Hungry.
Now that buy-in that you have is a vote. And you can vote on what to do with that treasury. So let's say there's 1,000 votes distributed amongst 1,000 people, and we all put $1,000. Now we all have one vote
putting out bangers.
I'm for what to do with $1,000,000. We can we can invest in these martech companies. We can throw events. We can buy commodities. We can. Our goal will be to grow the treasury. So for the first time ever, due to technological advances, we can become business partners with everyone. And this ownership is dynamic. Because one of the features that we'll be releasing that I think is cutting edge is the fact that if you want to leave, you can redeem your vote and exit by redeeming your proportion out of the treasury. So if there's only $1 million in the treasury and you have 1 out of 1,000 vote, you can go to the treasury. I want out, and you claim your one vote for your $1,000. But if the treasury has $2 million, you can claim your vote for $2,000. Right? So having having a redeemable asset that reflects your ownership and voting. Beyond that, I think another part is, let's say every vote equals one vote, right? So, hey, I put a proposal, I want to use this to invest on an event. And you put a proposal, I want to use 10,000 to invest in a MVP for a market.
Scrolling on TikTok.
I don't want to be in politics. I don't want to look at proposals all day. I want to have ownership, and I want to support this ecosystem, and I want to bring attention to it, but I don't want to be reading proposals. But I trust you, Mr. Ophir, that you're capable of being that politician and making good decisions. So I own this vote, but I'm going to delegate its utility to you. So now you have the strength of 2 votes. I still have my asset, and you can lead the way. So dynamic delegations, which changes what we know in the U.S. governments, where midterm elections, 2-year elections, or 4-year elections. This is elections in real time. It's dynamic at all times. Right? So having this unity of ownership of the community over a fund where people can vote and decide what to do with, and also make community-based decisions. Like, guys, I think we should delete this channel. I think we should launch this channel. I think we should, it doesn't necessarily always need to be treasury-based, but I think, hey, we should launch a new voice channel or a new role.
Why is God showing me half $10,000
a month?
That's also God.
He's testing me.
It enables
well, maybe, yeah, but
I've heard that from
that's your algorithm, right? That's a lot about you. So it doesn't say anything about technology.
Beyond that, that's the first level, I would say. It's the ownership level. From there, we release the reputation level, which is based off, if you don't want to buy in, that's fine, but we still want to reward those that participate, that show up to the events, that do good in collaborations with others in the ecosystem, that actually deliver in their services. People that meet the requirements of actually being known as a professional, have proven track record that can be evaluated by other members, right? These people receive these non-transferable assets that pretty much convert their resume into this transparent, this resume into a digital portfolio, in a sense that you can see it and it's transparent, right? So the more you engage in this ecosystem, the more opportunity that you obviously have, because if you just have a bunch of owners in the ecosystems and no participants, it's just one-sided. So we create that two-sided of ownership and engagement. And once we have those two, I think the biggest value is really
look at this
airdrop. This free currency, here you go to all the people that own it and all the people that participate in it. And when you create this currency, the goal is to not sell, right? If you sell, the value of the currency goes down because you're siphoning out the liquidity. But the cool thing is, if you use it, you're not liquidating. You're not chickens. That's it. If you use it, you actually use it amongst your peers, amongst the people in your community, right? Which is back then, in the original days of bartering and trading, you'd have to. That's what it was. It was a trust-based society. That what I give you is worth, and you and I are working with each other. You might have a farm that has milk, and I might have a farm that has eggs. So I'm going to trade your milk for my eggs, right? But in this case, we're really creating this digital token that reflects digital services. And what I also think is actually very valuable is offering this. I found this new method. There's 2 things that I think is pretty new that the first time I'm actually speaking about it publicly is somewhat of a tax that when you buy the currency, there's a 5% tax to kind of discourage and not incentivize those to trade, to continuously buy and sell and try and pump and dump it and make money off of it. Instead, it incentivizes you to actually hold it. And that tax goes into the treasury of the ownership so that they can continue, the owners or the people that are most immersed in this ecosystem, they continue investing and making this thing. That's one thing. And then another thing is that, you could have a company come in and decide we're going to buy the majority of the votes and sway all these people and try to corrupt the system. But there's a veto system that I see that is similar to that reflecting of the U.S. government with the 3 legislative branch, the executive, and so on and so forth. So this veto system will be the person with the highest delegation. That means the most trusted person to lead this community, right? If everyone delegates their vote and say, I want you to lead the way of fear, you have the ability also to veto things that you don't think will align with the community. Now, the next 12 top delegations, the people that also have the most votes, they might not be the one that has the highest, but the next 12 combined, they can vote amongst each other to say, let's veto this, right? So let's say the person that's leading the way isn't doing good decisions. Well, the following 12 can collaboratively say, no, we're going to veto this. And then, actually, this is more of a long-term goal of mine, is finding what I like to call the 12 founding fathers. And these 12 founding I'm sorry, 13 founding fathers. So these 13 founding fathers are going to be the pillars of this ecosystem.
But I would say
And those 13 founding fathers will be selecting people that are massive networks, people that are very influential with the mind. Obviously, not just the community, but the world. Because this is
specific personalities.
you're one. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you, I do have one. I haven't really confirmed a few, but I could tell you some have gotten companies acquired. Some have, well, two have gotten companies acquired. Another one has taken company public for $1 billion. So there are definitely, I'm not going to put that out there because this is until I have all 13 and until I meet up with the current ones that I have in mind so that we can all collectively decide who these pillars of this foundation is. They will also collectively have a veto so that there is a checks and balances of this system, because I truly believe that this new technology that we bring upon is going to lead us to more harmonious living versus a player versus player mentality of a zero-sum game where one side needs to lose in order for us to win.
It's nothing in your portfolio right now. Just by breathing out of your mouth and
in terms of governance,
and you know what, let's just say it's guaranteed success.
Do you see the community going in a different direction or the ecosystem?
It's just very uncomfortable.
Resulted this decision.
Just
the direction you have in mind, because as I know, you thought about.
The point isn't breathe through your nose.
20 founders.
Well,
I have, and I don't. I think that once again, the vision is so big, and the North Star is generally in a way that we're all naturally moving towards, and in the sense that this is where I believe professionalism and collaboration is moving towards. It's more transparent, more digital, obviously, and also having a layer of that physical that I'm not going to get into right now, but any pivots or iterations that they do, I think is just going to fit and overall move in the same direction. But to think that the whole community is going to be like, no, actually, we don't want to do any of this, and we want to start a Soho House type membership remote work, WeWork style, where all the community members can go in, and then we throw, remote events that raise the treasury funds. Which the thing is, I thought about that too, and I'm like, yeah, well, we could do that as well. That fits into the vision. We want to transcend fit digital. The thing is that you look at these governments and you look at these countries that how much land is out there, how much more land can we discover, and the reality is that when you look at land, a lot of us really don't leave where we work, our office. That's where we spend a lot of our time. But when you're in your office, think about how much you truly explore when you're online. It's infinite. You can keep jumping on different websites. You can jump on different channels. And when you jump into a channel with a certain group of people, if someone else is in there, it becomes a different space. That land online is the new frontier. And then you introduce, obviously, things like virtual reality and this metaverse concept, which I don't think the metaverse is obviously anywhere close to where it should be before we all really start adopting it. But land is a Zoom call. We're there. And that land is, not necessarily discovered, but there's no flag that's been planted. And I think that we as a people can conquer this land, this sovereign from any country or government, and truly bring upon, especially as we speak, there's obviously we're on the brink of World War III, but how many times have we seen, an Israeli and a Lebanese person could collaborate in our community? We've seen it. We've seen textbook enemies be best friends in our community and work and collaborate with each other, because I believe that what we do at Furlough transcends this animosity that we're supposed to be brainwashed into believing of hating each other, and it brings us into what I believe is true unity.
Again, this is all based on your karma.
People
are simple you are on your spiritual journey of unmasking.
Somebody, you don't think,
if you're someone in the very beginning stages, the most
it doesn't work this way, because if you have a chemistry of someone,
these programs,
it's beyond your nationality or history.
That's where it starts.
For me, it's just about setting up the right
the ability to think, to be critical thinkers, and that starts with not only education, but
connecting people, giving value. Overall, that is just the ethos of what we're doing. So where do you see, obviously, we spoke about a lot of things, where do you see this community, these people that are all watching. I'm curious. I bet they're curious too. Where do you see this exactly? If you could paint us a vision of what this looks like.
The bathroom, wash ourselves. We're in a state of going backwards, and then we go into a state
it's
of
hard for me, but I'll say
you need to learn.
I think the biggest differentiator,
a lot of
comes back to
a lot of
depression,
education system
loss
right now
of
is all about
purpose, not
memorization.
knowing who you are. All that is characterized within that, right?
Understanding
To
why
move
things
that
are the way
energy,
they are,
then there comes rajas,
which is
then there's rajas is kinetic energy. That's
you just memorize
moving
it.
the body
it's going to be a
and grounding
I
on
think
stagnant energy.
education.
And then only then are you able to go into a state of
grow my business, scale my business, sell my
being in
business.
harmony
to
and
that.
balance,
Learn to learn.
But we
It
can't
also
just jump
requires
from
us to
being
get to the
anxious
point,
and depressed
as you know,
into
and
a state
hardest
of, okay, I'm going to meditate.
huge
You
skill.
can't. The
Engagement
mind
to
is
go into
too,
retain,
it's taking too much
convert.
energy to
Young
use your
and fresh
body.
comes
Once
in.
the
leads to
body
the
is
world
Yeah,
taken
the
care
sea
of,
level
that
is
sees
then can
the
one
people
go
with
into a
the
state
$1
of
billion
balance.
that
And
want
then
that
that
come
practice,
take a step back.
it's a practice.
Another
Once
one
Our
you
goal
start,
is going to
start
be to get
practicing
those people to
like
have
less,
trust.
like practicing
weekend I was at
more,
my buddy
then you don't
Brown.
even need to move
You
the
know,
body.
my friend
That's
actually
why
showed
you
me
see
the
like
Instagram
monks
of
on
a
every
ice
path
bath
they're having. So for
they're
me,
Guatemala just sitting
the
there
best case
for
scenario
like
is to
60
start
years in one position, going to the
This
bathroom.
goes
Yeah.
I show up early.
big publications
Yeah.
Reconnected with
thousands
Yeah.
of
Give
users
another
sort of
example,
real time.
your brain,
It's getting invested.
stimulants like Adderall,
It's getting
Ritalin, Vyvanse,
dropped to the
or
market.
taking too much
Right.
coffee,
It's
your
getting
brain
second
has
round,
fine going.
and
Instead
it's
of
getting
coffee,
injured.
the pups and children.
That's how I see it.
And they sold out.
It's getting partnerships
generally
inside.
class,
It's getting everything inside.
Is
it
like
doable?
whatever.
Like,
People are just they don't care what it is. They're just like one-off
because
event.
of how
Perfect. Sign me up.
hard it
This
is
is
to
kind of
really
stressed.
bring in
You're
these
in the jungle,
200
cavemen
millionaires
back in the
to
Neanderthals,
trust the
they're
platform.
being chased by a
to be
T-Rex
able
or a
to
lion
connect to it
right
and
now.
say,
They're in
"Damn,
a
I
survival
wanna go
state.
this
They're on
way."
high beta because they
I
need to
think
get
I
a
have
lot
the best way
and it
to
puts them
learn
in
about a
this
company and
financial
run with
industry.
it this way.
Super aware of everything.
Which I think it
going on.
is.
When you're in that survival state,
You've experienced
that is
founders
not
in
a
our
time to
community a
sit.
lot, right?
Of course, yeah.
Hard question.
It's a better way
I
to
love
lead
it.
them.
Yeah,
than
creative state.
Which industries would you
Ready.
bet on?
Product
Yeah,
hunters.
yeah, exactly.
Right? With all the respect to all of them, I respect them.
Technology,
flat.
Delta, which is one
I'd
of
say
the sleeping
most
state.
engagement on
But when
online
you go
is
slow
very
down the
flat,
brain
and
waves,
with
which is
like
surface,
deep in that.
I mean, there's
experience,
like
people actually get
Big
to know
Five, which is
actually get to know the story behind and where it's going and see the evolution, see
observing
behind the scenes.
as if traffic
Kind
was
of
passing
founders
through the
following
highway.
our
You don't
blueprint
chase
of
the
building
car,
in
you
public.
just
those
watch
are
it
like
go
the
by.
Players to
Yeah.
connect
Like,
with
oh, I have a quiz
from the
tomorrow.
behind the
But in
scenes,
terms
not
of like
the
the need,
I gotta go with my study. I gotta
target, you know,
to be
but
honest,
back
it's kind of in line with
dirty
what
trash
That's-
back door,
yeah.
you know?
That's beautiful way you
So,
said it.
Oh, thank you.
this is the kind of
mental
thing we need
health.
to
Yeah.
Whether it's the
seeing
food
it.
you
Yeah.
eat,
The other
But
side
like
of
there's
this
so
is
much like
implementing,
people are like, oh my god,
so
like you don't
to
want to
me,
stress.
higher
Like,
education
the reason
is
we're alive
almost completely
today
dead.
is because our
there's a
ancestors
buddy
and
of mine-
ancestors.
Like we can
ancestors
say,
in
yeah, you know, you want to be a doctor, you need to go
Well,
to
there's
survive.
valid, like there
Yeah.
is. It's funny because
I'm-
I've gone to the
I'm
chakra
not
system,
sure it's
which
that
I'm
true.
not gonna.
I
I'm not
haven't
gonna go
tried,
into the full
but
chakra
it's a teddy
system.
bear.
I'm
But I think we
obsessed.
should
It's everything.
become a
We don't
Yeah,
realize
exactly.
that.
So it's like
We're
you
already
can
university.
think
A little more
out of
PG.
his part. Yeah, so it's like, you know,
I learn more than
you
everything
can
in
fucking
class.
university.
his
I can
lower
go
class,
deep.
So
but-
much.
I can go deep. I'm not going to, but the reality is,
trying to make
one of the
I think
things that I
this is going to
learned
be
was
the
like I
standard
was
in
more
which
with
universities
teddy bear.
it's my
are
chakra.
gonna
It's like my
establish
favorite.
our
All
next
this,
way
like the
of
gland,
building
and this, which
our
is 6.
Which
Exactly.
to add to
So
what
I
I
think-
was
I
speaking
think
about earlier, like
they all have
having learn
mental
to
health,
earn
and
model,
whether
where
crown
you
is
watch a
the big
module, you
exposure.
watch some
Everything
videos that were
aligned
driven
with
by
information.
the thought
Like
leaders
ideas
within
do
this
not
ecosystem.
from your
They
brain.
upload a
So,
program,
okay,
you
entrepreneurs
watch
do
this
not
program, you
confuse
take a
intuitive
quiz, or
thought
actually
for
do
an
more of a
impulsive,
workshop,
feeling,
or some
okay?
sort of
Like
actual
it's usually, I mean, how many
evaluation,
entrepreneurs
and
have
then
done
you
this, where
receive
they get this
a
idea for a
non-transferable
solution, and then they spend the
transferable
next
asset
hour
that says
for the
you're
kind of
capable
going
of better
against
life.
and this
thinking it out,
further
like thinking
develops
just
a
to go back to the
relationship,
mindset,
which
mindset,
you
which is
own.
that
I think
intuitive
also a
thought,
big
right?
thing is
When
that
the
you see these
ideas
data
flow from
companies
the
like
top, that's how we
Facebook
look at
and even
cartoons,
23andMe,
and the
their
cartoon
whole
gets
entire
an
board
idea, the light
resigned
bulb
because
pops in their head.
you're giving away your data. Everyone owns your data, and
I don't know, maybe
we need to give
I'd
it
be
back to
wrong,
the
and we might
people.
have a disagreement
And
here, but
somebody
the
who,
chakra business.
let's say,
Yeah.
lives in Pakistan or India, right? They're talent, they're incredible talent. Especially we work with a ton of people in the Ukraine, and the Philippines, and imagine if they own their data and we're able to say, look, I've worked with these companies and and I've scaled these businesses, and I've had this impact. And look what I can do for your business. And they go, okay, but where are you from? I own my data. I don't need to disclose that. I've disclosed you my success. Now I don't need to disclose to you that I live in Pakistan. Why? So you can just give me a discounted rate for what? I think we're going to be standardizing beyond education and involving that, but I think we're actually going to be standardizing the actual cost of goods, of services, of what, businesses.
Value driven.
Exactly. and making it so that it's even the playing field, no matter where you are. Digital services, whether it's offered in the United States or whether it's offered in the Middle East or whether it's offered in Asia or Europe, the service is still the same, the results still the same, so shouldn't be the cost associated be the same.
Don't touch me, but like,
And having this
like,
kind of dynamic pricing and understanding, okay, a welcome series for a brand making $100,000 last sold for $1,000 or $1,500, and having these dynamic fluctuated rates that we can understand and see because it's all on this public ledger, I think it'd be a very interesting way. And, as we see, and I think the recurring thing of this conversation is that we're not settling with what we're at, where we're at. We want to push bars across multiple sectors and verticals, and understanding that ultimately it's all for rewarding the people in this ecosystem.
My girlfriend's like, cool, I'm with
this.
She's like, yeah.
I mean, what I'm talking about is like,
come on
I'm
down.
not literally saying I want to go
20 sorority, all came,
you know, as I climb the ladder of my own success.
You're faking. I'm faking.
All of those people that I'm
yeah.
going to
go to a friend. I go, sleep. Grab your hand, put it on the table. And I go, when you open your eyes, your hand's going to be stuck. She opens, she starts looking, she's laughing. I go, look what you did. It was just like, how do I have these powers? It's like, it was wild. What's actually possible out there? And then I go back to my family. I'm like, I'm a master hypnotist. Sleep. And they're like, what are you doing, man? Just relax. And yeah, but there is a perspective when you understand.
So it's just that whole conversation.
Our goal is to make it different.
How we see
Our goal is not to exploit an opportunity. And as such, our team is also bought into
the confines of spirituality. There are practical uses outside of it. Even with Reiki, I understand that coherence healing.
It's interesting as
seeing
well.
people walk from
Those other places
and people getting their vision back because they've been blind in the corner of their eye for the last 15 years. It's absurd that these things are just way beyond, and I just want to encourage and listen, like expand, forget all the little stories you tell yourself.
And the
go out,
of that
go find
like those places
always ever changing,
you know,
discover because it's either you're learning
and
or you're not.
people that are coming in are
there's no past tense.
Are just people that
so to me, education
like
and the compensation are very much
more about what's out there.
Because if I'm able,
Beach Villa,
Ross,
right?
When she joined, she didn't know anyone.
So it's kind of like if you just see that
why is that? Because she had a platform to learn and to be able to get to that point which she is able to provide the most value in her niche. Right, so
which is crazy.
It comes to our ability to create the situation for people to come in and be the great versions of themselves under the umbrella markets, as a result, make more money, build better businesses, and grow.
Incredible network, And I'm very curious because there's so many different personas. I think we've addressed kind of like founders come in that get a ton of value. And I'm very curious if you can just tell me, what do you think are the different types of people that can come in
so much opportunity
and what
in these markets
value they can really get if you could just talk directly to them.
When I was younger, even like something I would want to do now.
So there's a
Joe,
lot.
come here. I'm going to put my hands on you. And like
I would say
a little bit, but
you're
being attuned
as a person from Western society is easy.
This universal
because all you gotta go do is go to coffee and taste. So
to grow, flexible,
it's like basically like 5 years.
Everything between designer, marketer,
when you live here.
Developer, super motivated, entrepreneurial, but on his path to expertise.
It is flowing through you.
I do
if
see
I were to do that, I would just want to do it with more,
that is going and
which
healing,
is
and
more
everything is
morality.
Dan,
instead of just
Dan is
thinking
a
about
great
living
the dollar.
intentionally.
You know,
because he's
you
great.
know, the world, the way that the world
hardworking
is built
person,
right now,
he's busy.
is about okay, what makes us the
The
most
reason he's in furlough,
let's build this infrastructure.
so
let's
heavily engaged is because he's
siphon out the liquidity.
Right.
This is my browsing time.
Where now it's like
people,
let's go to these
my
places and actually
mindset
build
I create
something
value rather than just
reality.
browse.
And the world is just a scrolling consumer.
Now, the best thing we can give those people,
as you were speaking,
and the
you
opportunity
know,
we give
because
them
again,
is
it's a lot of
listen, bro.
Like a
If
bunch,
you
what I
are
found is
people
that
that or
they've
amazing
created this
marketing
wide
and
base.
whatever
Like it's helping.
The wider the base,
You know, it's kind of like the
the
mall
taller you can go
in
the sense
get
of actually
recognition
specializing.
in impoverished
In the marketing terms,
you know, you
it's
think,
actually
oh, this is
called
the mall,
T-shaped marketing.
and it's going to bring all
We're
these
growth opportunities
businesses,
T-shaped
outside of that
marketers, you
office.
specialize
work, but it's actually taken away.
Once you're outside of that office,
so you don't want to be like a
understanding as the
FIFA,
T,
hundreds of thousands, if not
events,
social
building
media,
stadiums, and it's just they just taking money
But
away.
But you specialize in
resources
I
from
found that with these
education,
modalities
put
and
elsewhere.
in marketing.
It's like,
and
let's
it
actually
actually is
build
pretty much like once you
amplify
start
your voice,
taking a step back, stop drinking the fluoride water and dumbing yourself
grow
down,
your
you start
knowledge,
recognizing patterns. And this pattern recognition.
consult and get
going into the
consulted.
fluoride conspiracy. I think
And I think this is an angle that wasn't exploited enough.
Talking about going,
I've
but you'll
seen
start
people like
noticing
Jeremy, like
whether
them,
we're
like
talking
Cash,
about
there's still cash
healing
Yeah,
the
they
body,
got
when
a lot
we're
of
talking
Mexico
about
so
building
crazy.
skills and trades.
But I
want
wanna
to
send
But
some
I
money.
do see this, like, so I think Carlo, once it gets over a certain
Like,
level
what
of
do you can't just
recognition,
send like
you'll
you
find
bank
that the
accounts
ones
like
that
that.
do
those people, because they're not getting
majority of these people,
enough
because these
opportunities
modalities
like
that
that.
probably
Crypto conversation, we
don't
do that
have
if you
anything
want.
to do with
Another
it.
another
He
angle
starts
for
talking
me
about these
is
basic
the
secure
business
cash
value,
societies
the
and
marketing
you have these
agencies,
bodegas and these little corner stores in the
founders,
He's
directors.
like, yeah,
thank you.
Imagine going
You
into
see
it.
some of them.
Founders of directors
Amazing.
of
Founders
marketing.
and
Let's talk
directors of
about
marketing
your
agencies.
bodega.
Dharma becoming how
It's
minority
like
partner.
these
I'll
people,
set you up with a
normally to be a
credit
good
card
marketing
company.
agency
Right.
founder,
You got one.
you
Now
need to
go
be
do that. Let's
fucking
say you have
good.
$150,000.
You need to be really good. You need to be good in sales, good in marketing, good in team management, scaling, sales, like
Hiring, strategy.
That's a lot. Like I would say that for a marketing agency founder, the structure
for them.
more than a startup founder.
Is evaluated in multiple. And I
Because
was
it
like,
could
wow,
be
that
very
is such
niche.
a
Marketing founder like needs to
adding
go
that
through
morality
so
to
many.
it, where he came in as an entrepreneur.
I think it gives
provided
them a good
increase in
opportunity
all of
for
their
personal
lives,
brand building.
help them to increase more revenue, by
Sourcing
giving them
talent.
resources that
My
they
God,
have,
like
structure that
I
they
will
don't
never
have.
hire outside
But
of the
also
community.
being
You know,
able
have
to
the
yield
actual privilege of
on his side, but I felt like
knowing
overall it was
well,
just
next
net
time, for the
positive.
next 2 years are.
Everybody wins.
It's crazy. Our
That's
roadmap
the
actually is like, okay, this member from our community
Yeah.
here, this member
I don't
from
know if
here,
I'm
this,
put
and
you on
like
blast.
really
I mean,
there will be
foreshadowing
classes
the
like that.
growth
Don't
of
worry.
the
Don't
organization
worry.
and the ecosystem,
And,
how
but
we
yeah,
can
multi-level,
incorporate
multi-style
our
yoga.
members
I think I see
into
when I'm
this
working with people,
plug and play
you can tell by their
model that
aura,
we've
their
built
energy.
with our
Yeah.
incredible team
Is
that
this
has
a
created
deal
this
or-
incredible
in order for you
foundation.
to win some
And shout out to, you know,
Can we
the
structure
current
it
HR
for
who she's
practice?
killing it, Olga. She's actively
like
interviewing members of the community so that she can continuously gather these kind of portfolios and resumes, not only to build our core team, but also to connect brands that are looking for talent and find more opportunities for the community. And I don't know any communities that are operating one at a loss because we don't monetize our community, but I don't know many communities that are hiring members to just say, okay, cool, get more opportunities for people in this community,
Someone
right?
that's been doing yoga
Yeah,
their whole
yeah. I
life
mean,
and
we literally
could put them side by side when they're 80
yeah.
years
Squats are
old.
so much better.
Basically, so when I
But
used
yeah,
to tell
multi-level,
them,
multi-style
briefs to,
yoga.
like,
We have on the
meditation,
pipeline like
breath
6,
work,
7
I used to
easy.
tell them like,
We have
if-
interns
if
coming
you
in,
are
and like
not
only
in my
today.
position,
healing.
or at least
Tom
have the
So that'll
chance
be
sent
running
me
from
a
Monday
voice
to
message. I
Friday,
had
and we have a bunch of really
lunch
great
with Mark
you know,
teachers
5 years,
which
I
we
from
supported.
Convert
I did a bad job.
Then we have
You
He
know,
tells
you
me,
need to
listen, I
feel
love
around
Mark.
me.
Oh,
and
yeah,
be
Mark,
working
yeah.
Did you know they hire, they
Yeah.
work with
where
Arjun
we'll
and
have,
they work
like,
with Alex
a
from the
la carte
community? I
mental
love
all
like,
different
to
types of
be
and
where
they're
they
like,
are.
oh man, they're
But
already
it's
speaking
about
highly
giving
about
them
our
that
job without
option.
using it.
But, you know,
regular
100%.
I say, damn, I'm not
into
using
it.
psychedelic
Upwork
integration
anymore.
therapy,
I love the opportunity to connect with people
lots of
this way.
cool
So
different
That's right. You said 12 hires. I'm like, no,
Like,
that's way,
and then
that's
that same
in this
much higher.
roles
Listen,
as
I'm
a
not
whole,
counting.
No, I'm like, yeah, we have way more than 12 hires just on our team, not including the hires that we get for other
I need
people
to-
outside
No,
of
no,
our
I
team.
mean, yeah, I mean,
beautiful
I mean
insight
immediate
better
community
or
hires
enhance
that
class
are
you need
or
to either
actively
stay
right
the
now
same
on
or
the
you
team.
can go
record their
down.
But again,
integration
believe it, I
session,
don't
whatever
know.
session
Yeah.
they're
Right now.
doing,
So that's how I like to
I
make
think
that
for
work.
the
Yeah, so I like to
agency
build
owner,
business
they
and
can
you know,
use
usually
the opportunity
people
of
they
sourcing
work
talent
with
this way
share
is
their
ridiculous.
experience,
On
'cause
hybrid
sharing
Very,
such an
very
important
rarely
models,
part about
not
people
necessarily,
the same
especially if you're in
speakers.
the
And
US.
again, when I say same place,
Yes,
Hiring-
yeah.
Heart
Like,
that
if-
will
You have a
at the
real
very
opportunity to
least,
get good talent,
they
shape
not
them
very
into
cost
have
effective.
better apartment
That's
filter
our
them in
better
advance.
car than they
multimedia
have.
Get to
Money,
see
more
them
Well, some
in
education.
advance.
Yes,
So
so
it's
it's
like
not
that.
necessarily where they have to, you know, now
Building
be
your
employee
network
to,
and your
director.
Yeah, director or
agency
something.
brand.
But
There's almost
their
no
life
option to
they've
build an
gotten
agency
what they
brand
wanted to
outside
do.
of your
Actually,
Quality of
and
life
so
is
they're
Right,
for
the
and they're
referrals
outside,
from their
so
clients.
Yeah,
it's
name
important
big
for us
agencies.
to really
Like
build
how many
the
people can
national
name?
Zimmerman.
No, I get,
Oh,
yeah, but those I'm talking about.
I'm sorry. Name up-and-coming agencies.
No, it's impossible. It's the person that has a brand. So I think it really gives them an opportunity to build a brand. And third, I think it gives them opportunity for investment, because I just saw so many founders of marketing agencies.
Truly,
Everybody in this space
make that
looking
your
for
entire ethos,
it's tough. You deal with business owners all day long.
surroundings improve.
Marketing, well, if somebody cuts shit, they cut on marketing.
People that around you
So
improve, which
they lot of ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
things.
and then
Thursdays
kind of
and
like just
Fridays,
tie it into
special
business.
events will have like
Something I used to tell, like it's
spiritual
kind of like a
book
joke, but it's
clubs
like
and,
serious.
Industries you
conscious
understand.
dating,
Yeah.
and then every Saturday we're gonna have like a little mini festival
millionaires
of
in
like
my book.
ecstatic dance.
So it's kind of like,
I just think it's a perfect.
if I've
fit.
helped these people that I've
obviously
worked with at this capacity,
I can
and
never
all the things.
you know,
And
get to
they like
see
to
the
come
yeah,
at
so
my house that I
that's
can
the space.
take a loan out.
you don't get to
Yeah.
see for the
Inspired
pitch.
by,
like,
like
or
different
through the
Because now
matchmaking,
they're
traveled all
valuable
over
through
the
the
world where they've
databases
had
or whatever it is.
whether it's
You
their
really get to
time,
see the founder.
their money,
Get to
or
see the
like
pitch.
or
You get
the
to see
resources
what
that
people
now they
think
have.
about.
their
Tell me how many
environments,
times
Mangan,
we get the opportunity to
Rishikesh,
speak with
Goa, like
how
centers
family
like this are
think
just like
about
on
it.
every
So
corner.
that's a
You know,
real
when I
thing.
found that it was
Yeah,
very strange
it's
that
your
nothing like that
network
you get to
existed
see
in
their
is
Miami.
go-to-market
network.
So
effectively.
this is
It's the-
my
it's the same
dream
thing.
See
to
how
create.
So,
So I'm
yeah,
really
I have-
excited
to
that
them.
it's coming together.
So I
and
think
I'm
it's a
richer
very
than
good
I am
opportunity
on
for
making
angels and
dreams
VCs.
reality.
Just
Well,
yeah,
I
and
like
a
to
big
say
part
there's
of our
some
vision
people
is,
I know, all they have is
as it's called
Right.
Dharma Healing
and I
House.
told you, I
We
do
are
see
a
Lil,
platform
this is something
for
that comes
healers
from
and
Bob
teachers to
Marley or
share
who
their
was
it?
light,
Is
to share
that-
their
I think
dark
I-
Did I just quote
and
Bob
teach
Marley and a white
teachers
dude with dreads? Oh my
trying to
god.
mimic that.
who are on a
Right.
path.
Somebody,
one
it was
reason.
somebody.
They
Well, I've heard
outsourced
that before.
education
Yeah,
to
it's
whoever
very,
it is,
very
by
accurate.
them.
Theoretically,
Yes,
Wisdom
yes,
and
very
modern
well.
practices.
So yeah,
the
no,
point
that's
that
true.
education became
And
disconnected
I
from
find the
what's
path
happening in
to
their
do
I
life.
mean,
that.
it's,
So
yeah,
And it's
that's
so
the
disconnected that
vision
you
of
see
the
what
space.
graduates look
my
like.
value. It's kind of so to give you kind of even
I like to kind
examples.
of leave it
think
open.
this is
there
going to be the
any
mall
It's
where
kind of like what I
topics
also
you
do
feel
when
like
we
we
talk
touched
about
on,
systems.
anything that you
the
like to
So-
businesses
go deeper on.
If
and
I,
the real
if
experts,
if a
the
person puts in
bureaucrats
40
and
hours,
We did. I mean, we could go
What does it
deeper.
say?
Oh,
We
yeah.
could.
analysis guys, the
Absolutely.
research guys,
Yeah.
but the real people who are
I could
doing
keep
shit.
going.
I'm technically.
You know, I love to yap.
Yeah, I mean, we have.
So
for the
we
next
have-
it's
I
the
mean,
same thing.
So I do see this as a mall.
Like,
as a
that's
group-
why,
as
like,
a
you
group.
said, oh, I don't want to
now
go into the
have
data, I don't want to go to the back.
Absolutely.
I don't want to go into.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm
like
thinking
person,
about it.
these
Like, you
are-
pretty much
They
hit
are
all
in
the
a higher
angles
place
there.
where now they
Spend
have
more hours.
more hours.
Like all the
more
personas
time,
that we
more
possibly
leverage
have, we
resources.
could possibly
Hour.
miss.
Your
I
whole
can
life.
tell you
Those
that.
malls.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you look at
It's still-
freelancers, like
it's
I just look at people coming in here and something that I think we could all agree on that they've managed to build something that we wish we had when we were younger.
What would you?
Don't
Well,
try
I
to
think
replace
what's really
yourself. It's
interesting
unfortunate
about,
that
like,
you and I
our
are able
new
to
friendships is that,
experience
like,
this
I feel
incredible
that
ecosystem
I'm very
that's just
tapped
just
into,
getting
like,
started.
these
Because
ancient,
the amount of mistakes that I've done in my
points
career.
Oh yeah, that
were-
was the
I
biggest
I mean,
thing.
I love
as
referencing
well
this
with-
one where I hired a
I'm-
developer to be
I've
my
had a
UX
lot of
designer,
business ventures,
which is like
and
developers
that
aren't
was
designers,
I'm
and
not
it
the
ended
type
up
of person
costing
that
me
feels like I've
$15,000
never had a
that when I went and finally had the
For me,
finished
$15,000
MVP, I looked at it,
and that's something
like this
that
thing's
again,
completely
obviously, I
broken.
have
Oh my god, I'm
values
asking the
and
wrong
morality.
question.
and
So I'm not just
I need to
gonna cross their
redesign
mind,
this,
but
and then I got an actual designer,
thing is
and then
that
had
it's
another
money.
developer, 10,000 more in. I'm 25,000 in the hole, and I ended up doing that project because I couldn't finish the funding to get the final piece to get it approved into the App Store. And I was like, well, it's a $25,000 mistake that if I've told people, I'm like, tell that story to prevent them from doing the same mistake I did. And I was like, wow, if I had access to people that were further along in my journey, how different my journey would be today. And even, my friend who, when I was younger in our early 20s, the first business we did was we bought a bus together. And we bought this, we bought a bus. We wanted to do a party bus because Miami doesn't allow billboards. So we figured we could wrap the party bus to be a walking billboard and then shuttle people to these venues and then do kind of like it's called the club hopper, where it would just be a route that runs through all the venues and we make deals with the venues and we just keep everyone moving within this ecosystem. And so we bought it, and then we had mechanical issues. We were trying to customize this stuff and all this nonsense that we spent at the time, like upwards of like 40,000, 50,000 on building this. That
so it's
I was like, why did we do that? We could have just
grinding.
we got a loan and then we got the car, financed it, got a newer model instead of a 15-year-old model. That ended up breaking down on us. And his excuse was like, look at where we were back then. Like doing now, we have so much more access to how many gurus are online. You scroll and you doom scroll. Yeah, it's a bad habit, but at the end of the day, you're probably, if you curated your feed enough, you're probably going to get some educational stuff to actually learn more about entrepreneurship and learn about marketing and how to grow a business, which back then, that didn't exist, and we're seeing that kind of the landscape of even how content is distributed. People are going beyond, I would say, entertainment and moving more towards like
Joe, don't be weird. Obviously, I had to get a little weird. So I'm like, and the girls want to learn all about your deepest, darkest traumas.
It's going to continue to change and evolve, and now it's just unfortunate because it's not that I'm done learning. I think we're always forever students.
These are your
waiting on
emotions.
that
This is what's
path.
going on.
But what's your relationship?
I think
with
if I
water?
didn't
Are you
learn
drinking
anything
enough?
else from
No,
today,
like,
I'd
we
be
have
pretty
geopathic stress.
all
Did you
right
just move?
in the sense of
Bali
business
for a
and
month. Okay,
know,
what about
miss it completely.
you know, like,
having
oh,
that
your
accessibility,
liver,
because
your
I'll spend
skin, what's
you
going
just
on?
let
It
the
broke
club
out.
take
You're like,
care
no,
of
I go,
it.
what's getting under your skin?
chopping it up.
Wait,
Man,
what?
I was
And
18
so you're
times
saying that
as
on
me
my
right
set was
now.
like,
My life.
yeah, you're having issues with love.
Whew.
That's why I love everybody.
Completely
I gotta
different.
be loose,
You know?
Others, I'm still
100%. I just, I don't think,
to
so
life.
again, I'm a little
She like
older.
looks at me like,
You know, I was 18.
She
And
start crying.
in a more
Or
relaxed
you
what?
should know, but at that point, my friend
Oh, I
comes
feel-
back
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he sees me
So
like with my
the
laptop and
perception
my
of
devices.
going
Joe,
on
I said
radio-
not
I
to
said,
be
what?
fucking weird.
Not
Yeah,
even
but then
that. Sorry,
this
yeah,
is
that's-
it's like
and
it's so
stopping
crazy because like
for
I
the
bring
army.
this to conscious
Like,
awareness
right?
because I
Like,
want
still
you
using
to be
the-
aware of this because I think if
things start
subconscious
working.
stuff
Oh,
is very
it's
very
boof
but
conscious
awareness
right?
now you
So
understand what's
it's
going
just
on.
so far from what I had as
letting these
childhood,
subconscious
even
behaviors,
imagine.
these paradigms
Like for
right?
me, I
And
never had a mental
the next day,
survival
me
was
and we
important.
were about to go out. Well, we were
Obviously,
going
if I
out,
had
and your
was
body,
like,
yeah, the
oh,
girls
yeah,
in
so
yesterday are
serious,
gonna
like,
meet
you're
up
just losing
and
money.
flowing, and then your
My
the
time,
girl's like,
college
field
goes
is
on,
wide
hard
open,
work
and you're
is
just living in
When I
an
had like
abundant state.
all the stamina and no kids to take care of.
He ends up like they end up going. She's like, I
For
told you I
sure.
didn't want.
One
She's
is
like, oh,
mindset.
I
I
thought
just
you were
think
joking.
that
Yeah,
the
mindset. It's
surroundings
all
of
mindset.
Right.
found
Joe
all
called out
mindset.
her
No
biggest
business
insecurity,
perks,
self-love,
and
comes
one
second to
face
this.
that
Someone told me that
collaborate
she
with
doesn't like him.
platform to
Whoa, I didn't
collaborate
like
in high scale.
I mean, to throw that in
In
your
a
face,
way,
but it's just
I don't speak down on it.
it's such
What do
ego.
you
feel like
And
if I
it's
had
like
a
you say
platform,
you
you
believe
so
in
many
it because he
collaborations.
says he
Of
can.
course.
He says he
Or
can.
one of them says
Like,
it.
I would
Right.
create so much collaborations.
and
I'm
it's
always
like,
I'm looking
your words
at
are power.
members
Ego
of the community,
created
especially, and not
separation.
to
This person's
not
attacking
talk
how you
shit.
treat
Just thinking
people.
like
That's what you
Guys
guys
utilize
don't take the
this.
opportunity
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
If you listen,
Don't take the opportunity
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
If I
Treat
give
yourself.
myself
Talk
that's
to
up.
so many people
just
are
browse
just
through the
wound up on
introductions
coffee
and
and just
just
doom scrolling.
I'm gonna reach out to all of
They
them.
feel like that
See what
voice they don't
happens.
have control of.
5 of them coming back to
That
me. I
negative
might have
self-talk and
5
that
businesses
scarcity
running in a couple
mindset.
of months.
That's that voice
And
telling
I
you
can
that
when
you
I
don't
came
have
out
have
of
enough.
partnerships on the
I
back end to
realized how
fulfill
much
those
And
partnerships.
It's unfortunate
just
the majority of people
if
are-
the
are
right
actually that voice in their
approach
mind,
comes to
I'm
this.
Yeah,
not
I mean,
good
like,
enough.
but like,
I think
this
a
is
lot of
like
the
I
self
think
people,
this is
like
like
myself,
important
not
to
acts like a
going
chip on your
through,
shoulder.
I think
the
what
hard
we're
work.
saying
Like,
is
now
not-
I gotta
like,
over
so
deliver
I
because I gotta
oh my
get good
God,
enough.
like
business
I
is
did
some
this
people are
yesterday,
just,
like
you know,
ha-
just
like
fucking
no,
build
like
it.
it's
Now you can
actually
3D print
we're
it.
talking about,
Yeah, and now,
like,
so
the
I
depth
just
of
think that the
who
opportunity
we are,
is so
how
there, and it's
and
part
how we
of
got
the
there, and how
evolution of
others will
technology
also
when
get there, and that
it's so
it's
easy
not
that
something
we
that's so
don't
unattainable.
appreciate
Like,
how
all
easy
these
it is.
tools are
Right?
available,
We don't.
and I believe
And it's the
that,
same
a lot
as
of people that I
reoccurring, you know,
love
and
in my
it's
life,
seen
they
it
have a
so
lot of
tough.
trauma,
Back in the
and
day,
they
watching
don't want to do
people
the
in
work.
these
They're
Just
restaurants
stuck
wait
in
for
their
the song you
routine.
want to
It's
played on
really
the radio,
difficult.
right? Or on
For a
MTV
while,
or
you know, I was
shit.
obsessed
You know,
with
I
Now you
have
don't
people that are
appreciate
like,
it as
oh my
enough
God, my
But
favorite.
I had
because
maps
it's
for
so
it.
accessible.
about planting a seed
in
in
the
traffic
car,
today.
parking
And it's
lot,
interesting
throw it
because
in reverse.
going back to
And I
going on the
look,
introduce
I'm like,
yourself channel, it's
oh,
like there's something
no, you're in front of me and you put in the
I
car.
just feel like
I
you
get
and
out
I
the car.
can't really take
I
advantage of
go,
in the
I
community
literally
because
walk up to the
immediately if
window.
you
I'm
started
like,
doing
And,
that,
like,
people are
in
gonna be
one
like,
of the
oh, you
what's
guys
wrong
own
with
this.
Right.
Like,
flowering.
it's wrong.
Why do you gotta do
And
It's
that's about
we people look at us
planting
differently
seeds
in the
everywhere.
community, so
There's
it's definitely a
dead
different
traffic. I'm
experience of
going
us.
in,
Like,
like,
yeah, it
what's
has its
wrong,
perks
man? Like,
sometimes, where people
like
are
another
like,
person
a
I
mango
would never
farmer,
forget, like, I
like,
founders
doesn't
and us talking
care
to me,
about
but
like
at the
the
same time,
end
it's just
taste
like
of the mango. Just
it's
cares
always
the mango
feels
cake,
like something
right?
they're
Like,
looking at us
because
as
they're-
an
and
alternative
the-
motive,
a fruit
and there's
doesn't
something
fall
there
from the
versus
tree unless
someone
you
who's like a
cut it,
patron,
I get out
right?
the
Like, all
real
these
member of the
different
community,
metaphors
they can
are
take
really
advantage of
important
this.
to
in
And the
a
guy
way
looked
that
at
we
me,
can.
if you're on
I'm
so
top
sorry.
of
I'm so
it,
sorry.
You know,
It's like,
it's
oh,
also
trying to reach out to
interesting
give you a
'cause
hug.
you
Like, get
mentioned
over here,
mentorship,
man.
and like,
It's
I'll
just
tell you,
like,
when you said that, the
people
first
are-
thought I had, which is
actually
such like a
done the work,
ridiculous
you're
of
not
ours,
The
just
world is so
spiritual
like
my first
head,
mentor,
like-
my first partner, in my first
Like-
startup,
Like you actually have knowledge.
I remember the agency came in and he's like, yeah, you know, Chris is the only one that I don't do contracts with. And Chris looks at me and he goes, yeah, because if I have to revert to a contract, the deal's over. So my contract's a handshake, which is similar to kind of how I would, exactly how we're running our business. We don't do contracts. We don't have any interest in doing contracts. Yeah, you want us to sign a contract? Yeah, we'll sign it. Whatever. Yeah, it's no worries. But people have found that these collaborations create more stickiness, talking about the less churn, more trust, and get more transparency and ownership. And I feel like, you know, I don't know, maybe with the technology we're building with smart contracts, it's going to evolve the way business is done.
One of my sins is I was a lawyer. I thought of a situation. It wasn't really a hate.
And then now that, you know, he's gone, their consciousness is still well alive. The people are trying to persecute a group of people, but it's like, shit. That is, you're literally, whatever you want to persecute them for, those reasons, like you're doing that. You're claiming you're superior and you're bringing violence to the picture. And like the last war is won with love. And we need to diffuse this conflict, get away from the PvP, that separation.
If you're now merging the
and giving.
Supernova.
Yeah,
you know?
Whatever. This is just a lot of investments, a lot of risks.
I've always
I want to put these aside. You want lawyers there.
isn't their fault.
But
it's just a
on the
certain
day-to-day transactions between your average business of give and take,
it's better than those
the more
crazy
complications
LEDs
in
in
it,
cubicles.
the more friction into the
mindset.
Eventually,
How do we
there's
change
no
it,
trust,
man?
there's no
As
relationship.
how-
No matter what you say, no matter
How
what
we doing
contract
it?
you said.
I think it's what
And
exactly
as
said.
long as
Like,
things are
it's
good,
what
the contract
education,
is
but I'm not talking about
so
just
the
you know
cost
vacancies and
cost
degrees.
of
It's
working
more
on
so value.
yeah, come to
the
Dartmouth
loss of
Healing House.
conversion,
The value
the
of life.
debates
And where can
on
they
the
find it?
contract,
You know,
post a relationship, because
value
people
My
give it
of
more
Instagram
life
is
more
Women's World,
different
and
ways.
I
depth
am
the
a
moment they sign the
WRLD.
contract.
Another human.
Doesn't make sense. So
But
for me,
just
And,
ever since I've
nature.
worked in a
Friday
law
said
firm,
Dharma Healing
just
House.
leave legal side.
and the value of
When
like
legal kicks in, business
Whatever.
starts.
Like,
we are,
you can
who
you
we
can
are.
link it
That's
on
the
the
number
bottom.
one.
And Dharma
how
Healing.
Don't want to
Actions,
deal with legal, deal with
you know,
business,
determine
and let's
the
do
next,
that.
the future
Absolutely.
of the next
So
generation.
if
I think
let's just kind of want to give you an opportunity. Obviously, you have the furlough community listening to you speak. There's so many people that we can shout out and show some love. I kind of want to go through some real appreciation through the roster, from Tom to Rosalind to Mike to Bruno to Yaver, Yev, Dennis, Anatoly, Alexandra, Dan, Scott, Matt, Brett. You want to keep firing? We can fire with it.
I would say always
more of
Anatoly first, just because
It's gonna. Yeah, you have a soft spot, Tom. Of course.
it's like my spine.
Yeah,
It's been there for so long, I can't sit without thinking of him in the back.
Yeah, but if I went and dedicated that much time to every single, because I got Kingsley, Omar, Ahmed, because without Omar and Ahmed, this place wouldn't wouldn't exist, you know. Even shout out to Shri and what she's doing. I mean, Christian is incredible.
Tony,
Yeah,
Christian.
of course, Tony, Bogdan, like the list goes on. Until the next time. Appreciate all you guys watching. Don't forget to like
It's
us.
everything.
John,
Taylor,
There's
Jensen, hello. You gotta love Jensen.
When you
Yeah.
heard those things,
The list.
you heard yourself.
There's a lot.
So
There's a
then
lot
we
of people.
start
I
to
think
take
that
care
by
of each other and
name calling, we're not
start
doing them a
being in
favor.
that
It's not, yeah.
Because everybody's
loving
deserving
mindset.
that kind of
or loving
2
space, 'cause
minutes
we know
to
that
get
when
the
you
real
love somebody else, you love
appreciation.
yourself.
All of them had a
So I
lot,
feel like
done a
that's where the
lot,
disconnect
contributed a
is.
lot,
We
and
all
they mean a
are-
lot to us as a
We all
company, as
think that we
people,
won.
right?
Vessel
But every single one of them
amongst
is the
each other.
fucking is the
And
world
when
to
we
us.
all
At least for me.
No, absolutely.
Bruno is important to me. You know?
You mentioned Bruno. Like, I didn't realize how much you love Bruno. You mentioned Bruno 1,000 times. in this
Well,
thing.
I mean, Bruno is a special person, man.
No, they really are. I think we've really cultivated. Like, you started as you as a family
led me down
man,
that
you were
personal
like,
development rabbit
we
remember
started
walking
a
out of
family
that
here.
conference and
I
being like,
sometimes find that I hang out with this family more.
not
than
that I
hang out with my own
learned what I
family, and
learned. I was just
it's
like,
crazy
I
because
know
in
myself
a world that
more
feels like there's so
now.
much
This
separation.
information
I feel
just
like there's so much
put
unity.
me down that rabbit
And
hole of
often
personal
when I'm in
development
these
and just so many
environments
people
and
are
doing
going
these
back to the
interviews,
doom
I
scrolling,
I
they're
talk about
watching
God,
sports,
and
watching what's on
I
Netflix,
haven't brought up God the whole time. And
not actually
yeah, so I'm gonna
investing
need to
themselves.
give
I'm
my
not
spiel and my
talking
my
getting
greatest
programmed how to
gratitude
make,
for the real top
dollars
G,
or drop shipping,
and it's
all
God,
that
and
stuff.
we have so
Talking
many
about
different
reading
types of
something that is
from
actually
Hinduism
going
to
to let you
Christianity
have
to
some
Judaism
self-discovery,
and
because
Muslim,
when you truly
and
know
I
who you
just
are,
feel like furlough
you'll find
transcends
that
all these
you are very,
religions,
very
and
connected with
I
all
feel like the
those
way we
around
do
you.
things
Right.
is right.
Exactly.
And
So
I always said my
I would
purpose
say
in
that's-
life was to be a space for others'
that's the route.
greatness, and I was a space
Is
with our
getting to
team's
know
greatness, and then
who you are,
created
more
furlough, and
education on
with
who
that
you
in
are
itself
as a
became a
person,
space for others'
as
greatness.
an
And
individual.
then now when I look
So-
1,000 feet up, I'm like, oh my God, I was a
who are
space
you
for
as a
God's
person?
greatness, and I do believe that what we do here is God's
I'll
will
say
and
that
God's
the
work,
most
and what we're doing
powerful
is right by the
statement I
people,
can
for the people, and
say
creating this so it
to
can be
answer that
owned
is
by the
I'm
people,
my
living
mother's son.
harmoniously. And without God, I think none of this is possible.
Oh man, you
because
got me with
we
that
do
one. Oh man,
and
I'm
we
like,
do
I'm
everything
like, I'm a
like
child
the-
of God,
the
but you
right.
got me.
standards
You're
of
like, you. That
in,
is
in
best
my mind,
intent.
that's very
And
similar.
I just can't
I'm a
wait
child of
to,
God,
because
but I'm my mother's
some
son.
people, especially in times
So-
like this, it's very easy to feel
I
down
mean, I
and
know you're
out.
not on social,
And
but
this is a
if someone
place
here
that
was really,
you
really
can find
gravitating
unity,
to you
and you can
just wanted
find
to
brotherhood,
thank you,
sisterhood.
reach
You can
out to
find
anything,
a culture that's
how
here to
would it
support you and
possibly
empower you, help you grow.
I mean,
whether it's
furlough.
personally or professionally,
I mean,
but
that's-
truly
that's-
it's
that's-
that growth
that's
through
the- that's the
collaboration
good
and
plug.
experiences,
Yeah.
because
I'll take it.
at the end of the
That's
day,
the
through all your experiences,
Love it, guys.
it's
Feel
all
free to
about the
ping him.
people
His name's
that you
Pete.
meet along the way.
Pete
And yes,
with
we
a
all focus
default
so much on
Discord.
the future,
I make everybody
right?
change their
And
profiles.
that
You
what
can
we
keep
want
yours,
our
man. You're
outcome
good
to
with
be,
it.
but it's that journey that
beautiful
makes
stuff,
that
man. That
process
is
so
really fun.
magical, and
Oh,
that
this is
journey
awesome.
and the
Yeah.
people
Yeah, we
along
already
the way
done.
and the relationships we make. And
I mean,
I
after
found
you
that
said
all the
that
people
mom
that we
comment, I
just
was like,
mentioned, that
That's a
like,
good
I
sign.
that
see
was
God
so
within all of
good.
them,
I'm like, oh
I love them
man.
all.
Yeah,
And I
I'm-
can't wait
I'm very
because
grateful
if we did
that
this
you
in,
guys
this
asked
interview,
me
this
to
conversation,
and,
a year from
you know,
today,
hopefully,
it's crazy the different
I've,
names that we would spend
you know,
so much time
influenced
speaking about.
somebody
And like,
you know,
this is the foundation of this
seeds.
incredible group
Because I
and
know
the
I've
incredible
gained a lot
ecosystem
from
we're
it.
building. And, we're not here to take part in the world, but really to
At these
change it.
moments, I
And
felt like I
I'm
was
super
entranced this
excited
entire
about
time.
the new
Just
faces, maybe
going
the
in
first
and
time
just,
people seeing
vibing,
us
really.
speak, maybe first time being introduced
kind of like
to
one of those
Furlough,
things we
maybe
talked about,
friends
not
of
to
those
kind of
people that
go
we
back
just
to, but
mentioned
that
now. They
self-development,
sent out a video
just
so that
hearing
they
your
can
own
check it out,
self
maybe
speak
bring
sometimes
them in.
about your own
What do
thoughts
you have
is,
to
like,
say
so
to all the
powerful.
new people
And again, because I
that
don't really have a
are
lot
being
of
first
people that I can
introduced to
have this
Furlough?
discussion with, it's
So
one of
obviously,
it's one of those things
for a
that have
place
the
that wants you
biggest
in,
growth spurts.
for a place that welcomes
So
you,
this was
I want you to
definitely-
win.
I grew an inch.
I think the most important thing is we want you
You're
to
already
win.
a giant. Right?
And like the world is very
We'll
cynical
definitely have a
today,
round two.
and
Yeah.
you see it.
100%.
We spoke about
Beautiful,
this
guys.
before. Like,
Thank
if
you
I
for
will
watching.
go
Don't
on the
forget to like,
introductions,
subscribe, join the community.
I'll
at
start
Furlough.
jumping on people, even if I'm only
.com,
going to drive
discord.gg/Furlough.
value.
Appreciate you guys.
There will be
Thank you.
people